What do you say, guys? Hit that like button. Appreciate you being with us. Happy Sunday. Oh, yeah, the NFL season has begun. Got a good one for you today, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure you hit that like button on the way in, and I do appreciate you doing so.
I mean, they've been conserved since the time of lobsters, right? There weren't trees around when lobsters first manifested themselves on the planet.
They're just getting acclimated. You know what that means, acclimated?
Obama! Obama!
All right, what do you say we hop right into it as we typically do? Thank you, everybody, for joining me once again. I am Boston Brian. This is Blunt Politics, the political podcast made to sift through the bullshit, the propaganda, the lies of the mainstream media, Republicans, Donald Trump, etc., and to break it down for everyday, normal class, working individuals like you, like me. We got a special one today. It is Sunday, September 7th, 2025. And again, the article that will not die continues to linger. The Taylor Lorenz article continues to stir the pot amongst the Democratic base and beyond. Hopefully, we're going to put that to bed today, but we have some good insights with our guest today, who is Ben Dixon, very special guest. A pleasure to be joined once again by, and might as well just bring him right in. Might as well just fucking not waste any time. Let's cut right into it. Pastor Ben, how are you, my friend? Let me see if I can get you in here with one click of the mouse. What's up?
Boston Brian, thanks so much for having me, man. It is so good to be back with you.
Pleasure, as always, my friend, and great service this morning. For those of you who do not catch Pastor Ben's Sunday service, you're really missing out on something, and I would very much advise you to check that out if that is something that is up your alley. Pastor Ben, it's been a while since we've spoken. A lot to talk about. I find it kind of unfortunate that we have to be speaking about what we are going to be speaking about. When we got ICE flooding the streets, running rampant, when we have the president of the United States declaring a war on democratic cities, or any cities for that matter, inside the United States. A multitude of things we could be talking about, but a lot of what, at least me as a progressive, or somebody that just considers himself a leftist or on the left, has been advocating for a lot is the getting of so-called dark money out of politics, right? So, I guess my first question would be, and for those of you who don't know, we'll be discussing. Let me throw this on the stage. You might as well just let everybody in on it. Let's see this right here. Sorry, the computer's going a little slow today, so forgive me if it takes me a second to pop this up on the screen. But obviously, those who are not familiar, this is the article that we'll be discussing, the Taylor Lorenz article, the Wired article about a dark money group secretly funding a high-profile Democratic influencers. Our good friend Pastor Ben has just recently put out his own comeback or fire back, or his own hit piece, his own piece himself here, titled Taylor Lorenz Gossip Girl Journalism: How a Wired.com story turned omission into scandal, suspicion into weaponry, and why the left doesn't have time for this mess. And again, Pastor Ben, thank you so much for joining me. Let me get you back on the big stage, my friend.
Yes,
now, again, I guess my first question would be is, how can I consider myself principled if I have rightly, in my beliefs, been calling out dark money, and on the other side, which it's mostly been up until this point? How can I consider myself principled if I do not, in the same breath, also call out people on my side that may be accepting what we consider dark money?
Well, you can call yourself principled and call them out. And just as you'll see in the article, I agree. Dark money needs to be exorcised out of American politics, right? But my problem with the article from Taylor Lorenz was not her, quote unquote, calling out of dark money. It's everything that she didn't say. My problem with it is the perception that so many people are running with, that this was robust journalism, when in fact, if you are honest and go through it really line by line and read what she said, but more importantly, what she didn't say, it was less about the dark money and more about the suspicion and the specter of dark money. Here's a big thing that I think a lot of people don't know. Most of the organizations, in fact, all organizations that are 501c4s, like the 1630 Fund, they are able to receive dark money. That includes Our Revolution from Bernie Sanders and so many more. I don't want to get too deep into the article. I'll let you lead the way. But I think what it is the need for us to handle the contradiction that's necessary. If we are going to fight against this media machine that is MAGA, their misinformation machine, then we have to recognize the asymmetry. We simply do not have the funding on the left at any scale in our media infrastructure to even remotely fight back against what MAGA is ready to do. And one last thing, I really appreciate you contextualizing it the way you did. It's a shame that we have to talk about this article still. In fact, I ignored the article. I wasn't even going to say anything about it, but it just would not die. And, you know, the little bit of hint of where I stood on it made so many people mad that I said, you know what, I got to dig into it and let people know where I'm coming from.
No, and you know, it does. It's like I said, it's been going, and I've watched a lot of what you've said on this. I know I watched your podcast that you did with Rebecca. I've watched a lot of what Rebecca has said with people like Ariana on, I believe it was the Leftist Mafia, if I'm not mistaken, on that. And you know, a lot of people have strong opinions, and I've kind of tried to, you know, in my own opinions, talking about this, tried to remove Taylor almost in totality from the story, and really just kind of look at, you know, what was written and see if I can find things to, again, push back against it, say that it's false outright. And, you know, one of the things that has been said is, why didn't she show the contract, right? And, just from what I've seen on her going around on podcast and what she said on this matter, it was to not reveal the sources. And again, I myself, not being a journalist or knowing a ton about the way the journalistic system works, kind of find a problem that, like, I find it hard to believe that there's not some piece of the contract that they, you know, really believe and lead everybody to believe that they have in their possession, that they couldn't show a snippet of, a picture of, a screenshot, you know, blur out any names that may give away any sources, you know, whatever they want to do. As to lend more credibility to the story. But again, I guess on the flip side, that kind of says, why doesn't, you know, people like Brian Tyler Cohen or David Pakman or you know, people that are on the other side being accused of such and such, release the contract that would just as easily, you know, quell the talking points, or say, okay, that this part of it was 100% false, or this part was 100% right. I have not seen, and again, the reaction has kind of been something that's kind of opened my eyes and kind of, you know, turned my stomach a little bit. I feel like there was a better way for the people that were brought up in this article to kind of push back against it. But I guess we'll just go back to the first question there, which I totally forgot what I said. I hope you remember.
No. I'm with you 100%. And I want to start
releasing of the contract.
Yeah. I want to start. Let me say this, because I want people to be clear. When Brian Tyler Cohen announced this almost a year ago, I saw it the day he announced it. We follow each other on Twitter. I immediately said to myself, I don't want to apply for this. Why? Because I believed, because of the names of people he listed that were founding this organization, I believed that it would not, I believe that they would stop me from speaking about Gaza. If I'm just going to keep it 100%, that they would try. My instinct said, I don't want to be affiliated with this because they are going to stop people from talking about Gaza. Turns out I was wrong. But also the second reason is I'm much further to the left than any of the people who, you know, Brian Tyler Cohen, David Pakman. I'm so much further to the left of them that they're not the people that I want to be tethered to or attached to in public. I will vote with them to get rid of MAGA. I will go protest with them to protest MAGA. But in terms of political ideology, I'm anti-imperialist, I'm anti-capitalist, anti-racist, and I'm steeped in the Black radical tradition. That's not their beat. No harm, no foul. Now, to go directly to what you said about the contracts, that excuse from Taylor is unacceptable in journalism. There are clauses. There's only one real place in a contract where you identify a person, and that's the signature and the opening lines of the contract. Everything else in the middle usually does not have a person's identifier. But even if it did, you can redact it. Taylor did something so much worse than not just give us the contracts. She secondly did not even paraphrase or copy and paste any full segment. She took selective words. And if you read the article, she never put more than 3 words at a time from the contract into her narrative and into her sentences, giving her the free rein to cast the narrative how she wants to, while robbing you and everyone in your audience and me of the opportunity to get context. And without that context, she was able to paint a picture that time and again has been shown to not be accurate. Was it factual? That's questionable, because the sentiment that people took away from it was something that was opposite that was actually written in the contract. And we went into great detail. We actually pasted a portion of the contract inside of our article on Substack, and we compared it to the same section that she wrote about. And in particular, if I can just get a little detailed here, the section dealing with booking of politicians. When you read the section in her article about booking politicians, it makes it seem as if they had to go through course to have any contact or any type of booking with a politician. When you read the contract in context, it is a mechanism for people to coordinate booking appointments, to make sure that people are not double booking, to make sure that they have an opportunity for one person to use that same politician and then share that resource with another person. It is a collaboration mechanism, but you couldn't get that from her article because she took only 2 words from that section and she wrote the sentence to make it as suspicious as humanly possible. And I'm sorry, that's not journalism. That's gossip.
Can I just ask, who has since released the actual contract? Did you have to do digging? Did somebody have to do digging? Was it released by somebody named in the article? Is the full contract out there? Because like I said, I've tried to read and watch as much as I.
Yes, I have a screenshot.
Because I know that I've seen on TikTok, or I've seen not on TikTok, but people using TikTok videos to say, they're using kind of screenshots behind them, but seemingly it almost corroborated what Taylor had wrote about in her article from the small and short samples that I've seen. But I'm just curious, you seem to have seen more of this complete contract than maybe I have, or maybe
and here's a part. I'm not sure which screenshot you saw, but I saw a screenshot of the article, not the article, but the contract of that specific section that I'm talking about. And if you read it in its entirety and you compare it to what Taylor said in her article, it's night and day difference. Now, I'm not sure. You may be talking about the screenshot that went viral that has a section that's highlighted. That section that's highlighted brought attention to the nuance, not even the nuance. That section that was highlighted took your attention away from the section above it. The section above it, which was part B, part number 4, like there was section 1, 2, and 3. They highlighted section 3 and ignored sections 1 and 2. 1 and 2 was everything that you needed to see that this was a nothing burger. And more important than a nothing burger, it was completely opposite of what Taylor was trying to portray it to be. Here's my biggest thing about all of this is that why are we?
But that doesn't that just give them a softball?
Who's this?
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Who gets the softball?
No, I was going to say, doesn't that just set up a ball on a tee for people like Brian Tyler Cohen and David Pacman and whoever else may be named in this to whack this right out of the park with the actual entire contract to say, hey, look, this, and this, and what Taylor said is 100% false. Here's the 100% proof to prove that. You know what I mean? I just feel like it's all that you're saying, if it's wrong, right, it would just be setting them up with the easiest softball pitch ever for them to knock it out of the park and be like, look, here's the factual evidence. She said this. Here's what the contract actually states, as opposed to like snippets and screenshots. Like, I just feel like that, because I did.
Well, let me say this, Brian.
Like, I thought that's what we were going to get, because I watched BTC's kind of reaction video to this. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Here,
Yep. Absolutely.
here's what's important. Taylor is the one who did the journalism. Taylor neither had screenshots nor copied text transcribed in her journalism. The onus is on her as a quote unquote journalist. Now, there are individuals who did share, but those are content creators who don't have platforms as big as Brian Taylor Cohen and David Pakman. Now, why hasn't David Pakman or Brian Taylor Cohen shared their contracts? I'm sure they have their reasons. And I honestly, that's their business. I'm not really as concerned about why they are not reacting to Taylor as much as why Taylor didn't do actual journalism up front. Because no matter who has the contract at this point, 7 times in the article, she said, according to the contract viewed by Wired. Not once did she give you more than 3 words out of the contract. As a journalist, I have to tell you, Wired should be ashamed of themselves for publishing this without providing context, without providing screenshots, without providing the actual primary documents and allowing her to proof text, just take 1 or 2 words and create entire narratives around it and robbing the audience of the opportunity to read and decide for themselves. I feel like we on the left who believe in journalistic integrity, the fact that we didn't catch that, the fact that millions of leftists or hundreds of thousands of leftists are enraged, but they never slow down to ask Taylor, where's the contract, Taylor? Taylor, where's the transcript? Give us something more than 2-word snippets in your article.
I think that's fair critique and criticism and pushback on the article for sure. I guess that would bring me to the next question. Like, what would you say to people pushing back and saying, like, I know Taylor Lorenz was the name on the article, article by Taylor Lorenz, but clearly Wired is a big publication. They have lawyers, they have editors. They must have had somebody, a team of people you'd have to suspect working on something like this that went through and reviewed it before it went up. So what was I don't know. I kind of say, like, if this wasn't written by Taylor Lorenz, would it have been picked up and received completely different than it was? Because I know she has a reputation. I am not completely familiar. I'll be very upfront and honest with her past writings or her past reputation or anything like that. I know she had some some spout with libs of TikTok. That's about as far as my knowledge takes me on Taylor Lorenz, but I know people have very, aggressive and opinionated views on her and her writing. I will say that on one of the podcasts that I watched with Ariana, she did produce some text messages that she was sent by Taylor behind the scenes that were extremely unprofessional. I would absolutely not expect from a professional journalist that was trying to get a story out there. I will say it was in bad taste, and it definitely seemed like she was attacking Ariana and trying to pressure her one way or the other into doing something. So I will absolutely own right up front was in bad taste and in good taste in my mouth as far as the reputation for Taylor. But again, that brings me back to the fact that there must be more people involved in this in the team, right? So I guess what would be your, criticism of that talking point of people saying, hey, look, there must be some editors, lawyers involved. They must know either on one hand they have the contract and what they're writing about is in the contract, or they're just apparently just incredibly egregious in the way that they write about companies, and they don't care the flagrant nature in which they misinform the public.
This is what's so insidious about this piece of quote unquote work. It's passed off to the public as journalism, but it's clearly written more as an opinion piece. It's written as an opinion piece because it gives them political as well as legal cover for her to make these insinuations. And here's the thing, the insinuations, we filled in the gaps. The readers filled in the gaps. All Taylor had to do was omit the fact that the 1630 fund is the same legal structure as Our Revolution by Bernie Sanders. You omit that fact and you start to think that the 1630 fund is something uniquely nefarious. You omit the actual text of the contract And what that allows everyone to do is to just simply interpret or take Taylor's interpretation. So there's a lot of gray area on most of these websites. I mean, if we actually held websites to journalistic integrity, most websites will not be up and running right now. This is uniquely problematic for Wired, though. And I think this is what you're getting at. Wired has built their reputation off of transparency, off of being able to explain stuff to people and make it digestible. And with this article, they did the exact opposite. They allowed her to leave out all of the context that a person would need to be able to make a decision on their own, and then allow the readers to fill in the gaps based on the insinuation. And this is why I call it gossip girl politics, or rather journalism, because it's what you don't say that makes a story so much more salacious. If you don't tell people that the 1630 Fund has achieved some of the most significant victories for the progressive movement in years, that they have taken this quote unquote dark money and they have won abortion rights in Kansas and in Michigan. They have stopped fascist takeover of state houses in Georgia, as well as like 5 other states. They have done so many things in terms of ballot access, things that we literally champion every day. The 1630 Fund has a long laundry list of victories. But if you don't champion that, if you don't mention that, you get the rest of the world to look at the 1630 Fund as if it's something uniquely evil, when it has the exact same financial structure as Our Revolution from Bernie Sanders. And one more detail, Bernie Sanders' Our Revolution has not disclosed their biggest donors. That is the definition of dark money. And so just like Our Revolution has not disclosed their biggest donors, neither has the 1630 Fund. But if you leave that out, then you let the story be that much more salacious. That's not journalism, that's gossip. I'm wondering if we lost Brian. This happened last time. When we were here with Boston. And I get it. So what I'll do is I'm just going to keep filibustering here while he does what he has to do. But I guess, if anything else, I'll say this about what else was left out. There we go. There you go.
Dude, I am so fucking sorry. And I thank you so much for being so professional and keeping this going in such
This happened the first time we did it together, man. This is great. I love it, though. No problem.
Honestly, I think I'm being attacked by the deep state actors that like dark funding. I don't know what's going on.
It's probably true. It's probably true.
No, honestly, I think it was something I think we were trying to simultaneously stream to X at the same time.
Okay.
So I think that might have been throwing a monkey in a little wrench in the works there. So I apologize about that. But thank you so much again for continuing your point. My apologies. Please continue with what you were.
So no, I'll just so that the part that I think you may have missed is the stuff that you leave out. The stuff that you do not include. When you don't tell people about the victories of the 1630 Fund, then you don't let them realize that this fund has done more good for leftist causes than almost any entity in this country. And it's documented. When you don't tell them that the 1630 Fund has the same structure as Our Revolution, and when you don't tell them that Our Revolution has huge donors that did not disclose, that Bernie Sanders' team did not disclose, what you do is you make the 1630 Fund look like something that is uniquely evil, when our champion of the left, Bernie Sanders, did the same exact thing. Now, Bernie disclosed his small donors. Great. Mm-hmm. We appreciate that transparency. But he did not disclose his largest donors. And you know what? That's dark money. And so if we're going to condemn the 1630 Fund and course as a result of it, then we have to condemn Our Revolution.
I appreciate and definitely appreciate what you're talking about there. I guess 2 points would be, like, one, a lot of people, what am I trying to say? Like, a lot of people, including myself, kind of have a problem with the way that it was set up and talking about like scholarships. Like, I have no problem with Brian Tyler Cohen and whoever trying to uplift and build some platform where they're uplifting creators that need, and they think they're speaking the truth, and it's everything's transparent and out in the open and up front. But like if 1630, and you pointed out again, as you did here and on your show before, some of the great things that they've done, why not highlight them? Why not spotlight the great things that they've done? And why not talk about how you're working with them and talk and highlight again the great things that they've managed to accomplish, as opposed to and a lot of people I think also see this as like a kind of conflating the two stories about Chorus being secret itself. And then they're saying, well, no, this person has talked about Chorus and that person has talked about Chorus. I don't think the problem so much, or even the reporting suggests that Chorus itself was like this secretive thing, but where the money comes from. Like, again, I've watched and tried to read as much as I could, time dependent on this, and I still don't know where the actual money comes from. And I think that's a problem. And even you and Rebecca on the show and multiple times say, you're against dark money in politics. You think it needs to stop. But then I feel like on the other hand, I don't want to say justify the use of this choruses, but you kind of say, is it really an issue? I do best
when it's adversarial, Boston. So feel free to run headlong into it, man. I love an adversarial conversation, but let me pick up right there. Here, one donor we do know of is Pierre Audemars, who donated $45 million to the 1630 fund. The same Pierre Audemars who helped start The Intercept. Full transparency, I've done work with The Intercept. I've had a project with them years ago. Taylor Lorenz also receives $8,000 a month from a company that is affiliated, actually not affiliated, directly from Pierre Audemars. So here's my problem. If Pierre donating to Wired, or rather to the 1630 fund, is problematic, then why didn't she disclose that she is also receiving money from a person who trusts, who believes so much in what the 1630 fund is doing that he put $45 million into it? That's context. And that's also a conflict of interest. Not disclosing that in journalistic terms is a conflict of interest. You are going after an organization that you are connected to through the same type of financial back channels from the same billionaire. And so we do know one of the billionaires who donated. But here's the thing. I'm going to agree with you on one thing. The fact that dark money needs to be brought to the sunlight. But we can't get that far into the conversation unless we get some political victories. And here's the biggest thing of all, the way you contextualize at the beginning, Brian. This story, and the only reason I'm talking about it today is because of how deeply it has divided us at the most important time in American history. I don't think anyone can disagree that fascism is no longer at our gates, it's in our temples. And the only people who are fighting back against it are anti-MAGA, never Trumpers, centrist libs, and progressives all the way to the left, right? But right now, she has thrown in a piece of so-called journalism that omits so much context, and people have taken that and have divided us in a way that we're talking more about this than the fact that there are troops in black-led cities, in DC, in Baltimore, in Chicago. He's declared war on Chicago. Why are we here at this point? That's because Taylor Lorenz saw an opportunity to throw something into the water, like chum. She threw chum in the water, and I'm so disappointed and hurt by my comrades, who I love everyone on the left. But if you really read that article and saw what was missing, if we read it through media critique, media literacy, like we talk about MAGA missing it all the time, but my friends, we missed this. Because she did not provide receipts, she provided insinuation. And with that insinuation, she's blown up the tenuous partnership and solidarity that we needed to continue fighting against fascism. And I think that's one of the biggest reasons we need to put this not only to bed, but also realize what was done to us was that it was a divide and conquer tactic that was not journalism.
Right. And I can't speak as to, where Taylor does or doesn't get money. That's why I try to, in my, reaction to this, try to remove her at all costs from this and try to, just get down to what is real and what isn't real. But to your point, I feel like this is really easy to do away with. This would have been really easy to smack down. I mean, in the reporting and in her podcast, she talks about how she reached out to these people months in advance. They weren't blindsided by this article, right? So they could have been in preparation already, getting ahead of it and saying, all right, this is what it stipulates in our contract. That's where she's false here. That's where she's lying here. That's where she's wrong. That's where she's wrong. But instead we got clips from Brian Tyler Cohen using like a 2-second Candace Owens clip where she, drags it out of herself to give Taylor Lorenz some sort of credit on with Tucker Carlson, and then uses that to, I guess, align Taylor Lorenz with Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens, which I found incredibly disingenuous. If you have the receipts yourself to disprove everything she said in the article, then give me the fucking receipts and disprove everything she said in the article. Don't give me this bullshit, along the lines of David Pakman not knowing how to pronounce fucking iPad.
That was hilarious, Brian.
No, it's insulting my intelligence because I grew up watching David Pakman in this space. One of the first fucking people. I no longer watch him, but I know from fucking firsthand experience watching David Pakman that he knows
how to pronounce APAC.
What APAC is, what they're doing, that his brother was with the ADL. Like, I understand this being a viewer from his. So to insult my intelligence like that really put a bad taste in my mouth. And it was like, okay, well, if you have the fucking receipts, why go in this direction? Why take this angle of, what is view a typically MAGA response, not dealing with the facts of the matter and attacking who wrote the fucking article?
So let me tell you why I don't think they did it. Number one, let me amen what you just said. That video of David Pakman pretending like he didn't know how to pronounce APAC, that was deeply offensive. I mean, it triggered me, and I'm like, and I don't even like to cuss that much. Yes, I do. Let me stop lying. But here's the deal.
It's Sunday.
This is why I need people to read my article, right? Shameless self-plug. I methodically went through every line of that article and showed you from a journalistic perspective what is wrong with the article. As a journalist, as a person who has, yes, I do content, I've done content creation, but I have at many times in my past done actual factual journalism. And I went through that article. I'm telling you, Brian Tyler Cohen, not a journalist. David Pakman, not a journalist, not trained to do this kind of work that I just did in this article. If you read the article, you are going to see for yourself the kind of response that Brian was not capable of, that David's not capable of. But you know who was capable of? And this is the thing that bothers me. Taylor dismissed the responses from the content creators who provided receipts. Everyone has ignored those 90 content creators who may have small accounts, who are fighting for their lives, and they put out the evidence. And everyone has just dismissed it like it doesn't matter. Even, and no offense, Brian, but you said like they put a screenshot up of the contract. That's more than what Taylor did. And if we can't accept from them their efforts as content creators, not journalists, to show their receipts, then we're doing a disservice to truth and to facts, because Taylor didn't even do that much. As far as Brian and as David, I don't know what to say about David, because I know he knows how to pronounce APAC, because I've been in his studio plenty of times. Brian Taylor Cohen, I don't know what he's thinking when he does the type of reply, but I can tell you they're not journalists. And this article that I did shows you how a journalist would reply to it.
I guess it invoked a strong reaction from me because and I'm sure from lots of people that have put themselves in the situation, yourself doing this for a living and putting the food on the table, trying to do this, I just gave up a plumbing career, what could have been an extremely lucrative and long-lasting plumbing career, because I am passionate about what I do now. I care about the subject matter. I care about making a difference. And I really believe that I can do so by building this and by not accepting ads or not, selling you fucking a mattress that was sold to me or sent to me last night and telling you that I've been sleeping on it for 7 years and it's changed my life, and, not taking big money donors. And, I have a real problem with people calling themselves independent creators while in the background, they're getting the bag and not really disclosing that to people. Like I said in my, Zoom that I had the other night with my mods, like I would not be able to sleep at night knowing that I'm begging for, Venmos from people that are on fucking disability and, don't have a pot to piss in. And I'm asking for your last dollar and sometimes get, somebody's last dollar. Meanwhile, if I was getting $8,000 a month in the background that I'm not disclosing, how much of a fucking scumbag I would feel like. You know what I mean? So, that's another thing that I believe invoked a strong reaction from not only me, but from a lot of people that do this as their livelihood and are independent and are trying to make it on their own from the strict help of their audience and not any corporate benefactors or anything like that. So I think that also leaves a bad taste in us because now people are like, okay, who is involved? Who isn't involved? People now claiming to be independent. I almost feel like that moniker is now kind of
we might have to throw that out the window these days.
Right
See,
now,
PYT
it's like,
still says they're independent and they're taking Poly Market Studio money. So that whole moniker
under my name that I try to be open and upfront. Like I contribute to Midas Touch, but that is when I do work and then send them my work. I receive payment for my work. Like if I don't do work, I don't get shit. Right. So I tried to be as upfront and honest about that as possible and let you know that, yes, I contribute, which is something that a multitude of creators do to a multitude of channels. And it's nothing new or anything like that. But, again, I want to be open and upfront and let you know who I work with, who you work, what I'm affiliated with and that sort of stuff. And I think that's very important. And I think when we get into this dark money conversation, regardless on each side, it invokes a lot of strong reaction, considering how long, at least myself, have been advocating for getting dark money out of politics. And I don't think, a lot of people saying we need to fight fire with fire, which I absolutely agree with. But I think there needs to be, some sort of systematic line drawn in the sand there, because we're also facing a bunch of fucking decrepit pedophiles. We're not going to turn into pedophiles to fight pedophiles, right? So there's got to be not only that, but I don't think we can win this game anyway, even if we play it on the same level as Republicans. I find it hard to believe that there's the same number of rich, Democratic believing billionaires out there that are going to fund the Democrats or Democratic leaning creators the same way that, degenerate fucking corrupt conservative billionaires love throwing money at people like Charlie Kirk and them. You know what I mean?
Let me start right there, because I think that's a perfect place to start. That's the most important spot, right? There may not be as many left-leaning billionaires. Of course, they're not, right? But the 1630 Fund is one. I didn't know who the 1630 Fund even was. Right.
That's a problem.
I want to thank Taylor for putting them on my radar, because when I look at their resume and their body of work and what they've accomplished, they are good people. I checked their 990s out. Not a dollar has gone to a Zionist organization. In fact, they've actually spent money on at least one pro-Palestinian group. And so when I look at what they do, I'm like, you know what? If they're billionaires and they're doing this kind of work, we need that. Now, here's the other thing. We don't have anything on our side. Here's the problem. Right now, in this country, MAGA can start a narrative and there's nothing the left can do about it. What do I mean? Right now, the prevailing narrative in this country is that the majority of mass shooters are trans shooters. That's obviously not true. But does that stop them from creating that narrative and pushing us to the point where Donald Trump is calling for trans people to not be able to buy weapons? That doesn't stop them, and neither can we as the left. Why? Because we don't have infrastructure. We're not organized. We're out organized and we're out funded. And without something, I don't think that we're going to ever be able to replicate perfectly. But Brian, we ain't got nothing. And the one small thing that they try to do, and I don't even agree. Again, I want people to be clear. I wouldn't take the money from Course. I didn't want to be publicly. I'm surprised. I don't even really want to be doing this because I'm not even that big of a fan of Brian Tyler Cohen or David Pakman. But when I look at this article and I see,
plus we speak about Gaza way too much.
Yeah, exactly. No, look, man. Let's keep it real, right? They're not my cup of tea. You've never found a piece of work of mine going out and defending anybody associated with this. That's not my beat. What my beat is the fact that we are outnumbered, outgunned, outfinanced, and outorganized. And the moment somebody tried to do something, here comes Taylor Lorenz doing her Taylor Lorenz thing, which is innuendo, which is suspicion, which is creating a narrative control. And now we're going to have funders back away, and we're going to have organizations, leftist media, who are not even going to try to put something together to fight back when MAGA can start a lie. And now we have trans people who are being attacked. Their Second Amendment rights are being attacked. Now they have convinced the country that crime is rampant in cities where there are historic lows. DC has a historically low crime rate. Doesn't matter. MAGA said that it's high crime. It's high crime. And you know what? The left can't do anything about it but shout in the wind. And when we try to organize, there we get shot down by an article that passes for journalism. But at the end of the day, when you analyze it from a journalistic lens, it's nothing but gossip.
Yeah, and like I said, I said earlier that, it doesn't really make sense to me, and I put my right hand up, and I fully admit that I'm not a journalist, don't claim to be a journalist, don't know much about the journalistic process and how it works. I'm learning more and more, as I continue to do this job. But, it didn't make sense to me that you couldn't put at least some sort of picture, screenshot, copy, screen grab, whatever the hell of the contract to say, okay, look, this is the line in it that directly corroborates what I said in the article. But, and again, I guess the flip side of that is I still feel like it would have been very easy for, again, the chorus people to have set this up in the right way and made everything transparent and said, just like what you're saying, we need to be open and transparent about this, but we also need to organize and fight and make sure that we have the ability to combat. And, again, anybody that was open and willing to join the program, or whoever they wanted, and was, could put it in their profile and be upfront with their audience and say, I am signed on to here. This is what's going on. They love me because they like what I say, and I appreciate them for what they do. Then, it's a mutual thing. And I really wouldn't have a problem with that. I guess it's just, it was set up and it was the way, and you do bring up that, Bernie's, our 501c4 is set up in the same way. And, I would say that I kind of have a problem with that too, because, it seems like it was set up in order to get around or to use some loopholes in not disclosing or having the need to disclose some information. Right. And I have a problem with like this whole scholarship thing. Like if it was scholarships for creators to incubate creators, then why wouldn't the smaller creators on there be getting the $8,000 a month as opposed to the creators that were already established and already well funded? And you know what I mean? Like that would make more sense to me. Like, let's build up the creators that you think are telling the truth, don't have the voice or the power or the reach so far. Let's give them the big funds. And obviously David Pacman should just be happy with his face or name being involved with this.
Right. He should be doing it for free. If whatever amount David Pacman was making, sorry, David, but you should have been doing it for free. No question about that. The smaller create, why replicate? Again, I'm not here to defend course. I'm here to point to people, number one, that the 1630 fund is something that we honestly should be championing. Why? Because if it's as dark money as everyone says, just like the dark money that Bernie Sanders took, they have done immeasurable good. But did we learn that from her article? No. Did we learn that our revolution has the same financial structure and has taken dark money? No. Did we learn
that from Chorus too, though? Like I didn't know anything about 1630 until Brian, you're informing me now. You know what I mean?
I'm informing you now. You know what? Because I'm a pastor now, but in a past life, I was a journalist. Mm-hmm. Nobody in this influencer program is an actual journalist. I think that they should up their game and have taken some time to actually figure out how to respond to this, because I think, especially Brian and especially David, I think their responses were absolutely wrong. That's not how you respond to something like this. But again, I'm not in their cohort. I'm not in their DMs. We do follow each other. We do all have paths together, but I don't speak with them and I'm not a part of their circles now. So I wasn't there to advise them. I sat down and I took my time for over a week and I went and found my resources. I went and found the gaps. I did the work of journalism. But here's the thing. The onus is on Taylor. Why? because she went looking for a story. Let me give you this last thing about Ariana Jasmine. When Ariana Jasmine read those text messages on Leftist Mafia this past Thursday, it revealed something else that was even more damning. Taylor Lorenz' original story was not about dark money. It was about the perception that Brian Tyler Cohen was taking advantage of young women, using their images without their permission and abusing them in that way. When Ariana Jasmine said that she was not going to be a part of that, that's when everything that you already mentioned happened, where she basically was kind of strong-arming her. But this is the principle here. She was hunting for a story. She was hunting for a story specifically about course. If she was actually doing journalism, it was her responsibility. How many entities out there have contracts that we know nothing about? She chose to make this her grandstand debut into the left conversation today. She chose to do it without evidence. She chose to do it with innuendo. She chose to do it with salaciousness and robbed everyone of the opportunity to get context themselves. There's more information in my article than in hers. She's the one that has divided and conquered the left, and she's done it without receipts. And so I'm just coming and I'm just doing a little cleanup here and showing folks, if we really want to know what journalism is, that article was not it. That article was perfectly tuned, controlled opposition. I'm loath to say that because we haven't even discussed that part of it. But if you ask me, it was the perfect weapon necessary to divide us and have us for 2-3 weeks discussing exactly what we're discussing.
And at a time, again, as you rightly brought up, where there is, an incredible war against democracy, a war against our rights, war against our freedom in this country happening at the same time, it is. It is a shame that this has taken up so much of the airtime from people that could be, and should be focusing on, things that are happening in the day-to-day life. But again, it kind of, and as you rightly pointed out, it kind of plays on the fact that, the left has been for so long calling out dark money, talking about dark money, and then this pops up and it kind of puts everybody on their back foot. And maybe that was the play, maybe that was the plan the whole time. But again, I think, it has shown people to be on either side or this side, and that's kind of what's created the rift. And again, I think the reaction has been so piss poor, as you pointed out, that it has only amplified and poured gasoline on the fire when this could have been very, very easily either debunked, which I have to say, to my knowledge, this hasn't yet Like, again, why is there more information in what your writings than in either what you say Taylor has written or anything that has come out from the other side as well? You know what I mean? Like, how does that make any fucking sense?
Please don't set me up like that. I've tried my best not to be vain or arrogant, but they're not journalists. You know what I mean? Like, I actually
there's people like BTC surrounded by fucking that law group, Elias Law Group, who I'm sure has people that are fucking trained.
But this is also, Brian, if I could, this is important though.
Yeah,
this part is important. It is the reactionary feature of content creation. They did not waste any time responding. They literally responded within hours of her putting up that article. I sat back for a week and a half and analyzed the article.
Right. Okay.
That's the difference. Their gut reactions were wrong and didn't help the situation. Brian Tyler Cohen and David Pakman, right? They should have, but you have to ask yourself this though. Could they, as targets of this article, have waited as long as I did to reply so that they can study for the right kind of response? I would say yes, but in their world,
taking a beating in the meantime, right?
Exactly.
But that's not to say that they haven't had ample time since that initial reaction to come out with a multitude of other videos to say, okay, here is why I said. Right, and like you said, it continues to get worse, and I just think at this point to step up to the plate, regardless of the journalistic integrity or the journalistic right that or what do you say, the obligation that Taylor had to produce whatever information that she had that doesn't again release or reveal any sources. Again, I'm sure that's a huge part of journalistic integrity,
Absolutely.
as well as keeping your sources,
Protected.
in the background, so they can continue being sources, right? So, it's to me at this point, regardless if the onus was on her, there's been more than enough time for the other side, any one of them, to come out with could have been a 2-hour video at this point, going word for word over the fucking document, blacking out anybody's personal information, anything like that, and saying, look it, line by line, this is what she said in the article, this is what it actually says in the fucking in the contract.
And
that doesn't match
I
up.
did it for free. Go read my article. I did it for free.
But the onus shouldn't be on you, brother. That's what I mean.
It shouldn't. And I try to ignore it. I tried to ignore it.
And then
But
it's
here's
fishy
why it's
to
for
me
me.
that it is coming from, not fishy to me that it's coming from you. It's fishy to me that it has to come from you, that there's a need for it to come from you as opposed to the people directly involved. You know what I mean?
But here's why it had to
you
come.
for doing it. Absolutely.
Here's why it had to come from me, from my lens, right? In the broader scheme of things, I really do wish that I wish somebody with a larger platform would have done it from a journalistic perspective, but they didn't. But the reason I had to do it was because I see too many of my friends on the left falling for the same thing we criticize MAGA for. And what's that? Taking things out of context. That's literally what she did, and we fell for it. Taking things that were cropped and not gotten, you don't get the whole picture. It's like someone playing only 30 seconds of a 3-minute video. That's what she did throughout the entire thing. And I see my friends on the left falling for it. And not only falling for it, getting angry about it, getting righteously indignant about it. And I want to just say to my friends on the left, please, not even just read my article, but go back and read her article and ask yourself what is missing. And if you ask yourself what is missing, then you're going to come away realizing that we just spent 2 weeks being mad about not journalism, not investigative journalism, but gossip.
No, but it makes sense. Definitely makes sense. And it is a shame that it's been left up to people on the periphery to step up and do the digging and come up with the information. And again, this is I for the third time in the show, I put my right hand up, and not being 100% familiar with the author, I do find it. I do think it's a shame that it had to come through the medium that it came through, because I do think it's a discussion that could lead to some progress if we had it in the right way. But I feel like what was seen as kind of a MAGA attempt at an article by the left, or an article written very MAGA-like, was met in response with MAGA tactics.
Yes.
As opposed to just saying, okay, this is what you wrote. Forget about attacking her personally.
Yes.
Forget about attacking her.
Yes.
Whatever she said, whatever. Let's deal with what she said, and I have the facts. That's what should be so easy for people like BTC. That's why it's so hard for me to be like, if I did that, if that art was about me and I was like, oh, I'd be like, this is great. Like, this is great. I have the receipt right in front of me to say everything that she just wrote is bullshit. And I'd be salivating at the mouth to come out with the video and to be like, look at how wrong she is. Like, we've been telling you for years that she sucks as a journalist, whatever. Here's the proof finally to say that she doesn't actually do the research that she said, or this and that. And it still hasn't come out. Like, they even played the move of not commenting on the story until the story came out, knowing that, Wired would have the obligation to put on the bottom of the article that since the article had come out, they've been reached out to by such and such, and, this was said and this was said, which they did, but I have not seen any retractions, which they are legally obligated to do. I have not seen any, corrections.
Brian, you don't have to retract
like
gossip. You don't have to retract an opinion piece. You don't have to retract insinuation. You don't have to retract something that you omitted. You just omitted it. And the most dangerous thing about this article.
Can we stop there for 1 second? So you'll learn me something here. So and full, like I said, full-fledged, full disclosure here. Not a journalist. So opinion pieces are not subject to the same legal standards.
They're subject to the same like libel laws or defamation laws, right? So if you say something about something and somebody and you defame them, then you're equally as liable, right?
Right.
But that's not what she did. She took an entire meal and just took a toothpick of that meal and said, here's what I think about this toothpick, and here's what you should think about this toothpick. But she omitted everything else that would make people be like, At worst, this is how I think we should feel right now. Here's what we have to wrestle with. Do we take money to fight back against MAGA from organizations that receive money from donors who don't disclose? And I'm going to use Our Revolution here because people didn't even know that they were taking dark money. Do we use Our Revolution's money to fight back against MAGA? Now, a lot of people are going to be like, no. And I think you fall in that category. If I'm hearing you, you're saying if it's dark money of any kind, then no. Other people are going to be like, I don't know. Because if we don't take that money, where is it going to come from? And right now we're getting our butts whipped. I think that's a conversation that she could have facilitated. But she didn't facilitate that conversation. She made it salacious and made everybody start fighting each other. But I think the real question is how do we fight back against 40 years of a MAGA media machine whipping our butts, and we barely, we're scrapping,
$1 billion,
we're trying to get patrons.
You know what I mean? Like, I think a lot of the pushback would be like, listen, we had $1 billion in the coffers leading up into the election, and we still got our asses handed to us. Like, how much is enough?
But we didn't have $1 billion in media. We didn't have $1 billion in media or social media.
But it wasn't used as it should have been used. Like, I don't think that money was put to good use through the media, you know, like either, you know what I mean? Like there was a lot of that money could have been used.
I wouldn't put that. I would, if I was 1630, hello, 1630 Fund, if you're watching, listen, no offense to Brian and David. They're not the ones to put the money behind. Put the money behind me. Why? Because I am smart. I've been around this game long enough, right? And I've been around this game long enough to know the spin, to know the lies, to know the innuendo, and to know the hustle, and that they got hustled. And you're right. Their reaction was piss poor and insufficient, woefully insufficient for what we needed. And it made it worse. And matter of fact, what I really believe is that when they read, they being Brian and David and the rest of them, when they read the article, they're going to be like, damn, how did we miss that? You miss it by trying to keep up with the news cycle versus stepping out of the news cycle and analyzing the piece. And that's how we are where we are right now.
And again, it brings me back to, like, I feel like we should all want to be promoting 1630. And again, I'll do more homework as to, you know, what is actually, you know, involved in it. But if like you do it, and I respect your journalism and the work and the research that you do.
I'm retired. They made me come out of retirement. I'm a pastor now. But my journalism spider senses was like, oh, hell no, what is going on here? And the thing that bothered me the most,
45 Jordan in the house.
Oh my goodness, it drove me crazy. I'm like, friends, leftists, friends, country and countrymen, please lend me your ear. Let's not fall for the media games, even if it confirms our suspicion. That article, I did not apply for course because I assumed that I wouldn't be able to criticize Gaza. And I'm not really fond of Brian and David. I love them in our fight against MAGA, but everything else
is a through line that you can make, though, in a lot of the creators. Obviously not all of them. There are definitely instances of some of the creators calling out both, you know, Israel and Democrats, but as to how much, as to how frequent, as to how often, and how strong is another conversation. I think that needs to be had. To say that they did is one thing, but to go back and look at how passionately, how aggressively, and, you know, how often is probably another discussion.
Just to be fair to Allie 202 on TikTok has an entire playlist. I linked to it, and in our private chat, I put the link to the article. In my article, I linked to all of the examples. Allie has an entire playlist where she discusses nothing but Gaza. Like, I don't know, 20 videos where she fervently and earnestly did it. And that's why when I read the article, I was like, wait a minute, I was wrong. I was wrong because of my assumption that I would not be able to talk about Gaza, so I just didn't apply. But you know what I wasn't wrong about? And I'll stand on this, and I'm not a centrist lib. I don't like associating with them in public for stuff like this, right? Because they could have handled this a lot better. They weren't sharp as they needed to be. And if you are anti-capitalist and anti-imperialist, you sharpened your teeth a lot harder than the comfort zone of centrist shit libs. Excuse me, Lord, I didn't mean to cuss. But they're not my people. They're not my squad. I wouldn't be affiliated with them in public. But the truth of the matter is that article was not the journalism that a lot of us on the left think that it was. And that's what hurts me the most. I think I did this more to show our friends on the left what isn't journalism. Certainly I did it more for that reason than to defend anybody in course.
Right.
That's for sure.
Right. I just hope that, you know, at the end of the day, it opens up a conversation on how we can better ourselves on the left and do, you know, maybe something like this, but in a way that is more that has more, I don't know, integrity and transparency.
Yes.
So
just put it out front.
Because again,
see, what I've learned is you say everything up front. You tell everybody, like you have on your lower third, Midas Touch, right? I've done work with Act TV. Absolutely love them over there at Act TV. Every time we went live, we put their logo in the top left-hand side of our show so people knew we were taking money from Act TV. If you are transparent in advance, you kill a story before it becomes a story. But here's the problem. If people are not looking for the truth and they're looking for confirmation bias, it almost doesn't matter even if you're transparent. Somebody can make something out of nothing. And that's honestly what Taylor did here.
Yeah, I hope it stirs up and brings up a conversation again on how we can maybe set something up like this and you know, promote and actually highlight some of the great things that 1630 does and wants to do. And, you know, there's no reason why we can't have that, say, in chorus with partnership and 1630. And then, you know, again, we'll get into the conversation of funding and who wants to be involved and who doesn't. But, you know, and I think you made a good point too in one of your shows where it's like, you know, a lot of these people, it's tough to say that, hey, I donated $30 million to
abortion rights.
That is fighting for abortion rights, or, you know what I mean? Like, what does it bring in the back end? But again, that just shows me that we have not progressed enough as a society if people are still worried and shamed into not coming out and telling everybody, look, I'm fighting for what's right. And not only that, but I'm putting up huge chunks of my own fucking capital to show people that I believe in this. So I think that is a one reason why we need to continue highlighting and working with, you know, and making it more transparent to work with companies like 1630 or organizations like 1630, or, you know, if they're doing great things, let's just make it transparent, and hopefully we can progress society enough to where people aren't afraid or ashamed or scared to come out and promote.
I think that's a great point.
These great organizations.
Absolutely,
so,
great.
I appreciate your time, my man. I will continue to post the Substack article in the chat. Can you just let everybody know every place that they can watch you, catch your content, see your beautiful face?
Don't, why you lying on a Sunday like that? At Benjamin P. Dixon on Twitter. The Substack, look for Pastor Ben on Substack. And of course, you can catch me on YouTube or anywhere you catch podcasts. Brian, listen, man, if anybody should be getting some funding, it should be you. And you shouldn't have to take that person's last dollar as a patron. And I really do wish you the very best in the work you do, man. I absolutely love the way you think. And thank you for not throwing me out with the bathwater, because I haven't had you on my show yet. We're going to get that done, my friend.
Don't worry about it. I know, believe me, the more shows I add, the more I try to add guests, the more I figure out that it's really tough to get people coordinated and you know, set down on a certain time. But I appreciate the fact that we can have these conversations regardless of what side of the topic we find ourselves on. It can be a respectful discussion. I think we can find some meaning in both sides of the argument here. And, you know, as always, great service this morning. Thank you so much for your fight, your passion, your aggression, and thank you for everything you continue to do, buddy. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, man. Be blessed in all you do, brother. Take care.
You as well. Hope you and your family have a great weekend.
You too now.
Thanks, dude. All right, Pastor Ben. What a guy. What a guy. And again, I find it very helpful that we can have conversations, you know, as people that both see themselves on the left side of the aisle, but finding themselves maybe on different sides of a certain topic, or seeing things not clearly eye to eye, and having these discussions, because I think it's important. And again, I understand, and it's very important to contextualize that there are far more, I believe, important things and dangerous topics to be covering right now. But I want to remain principled in my beliefs, and remain what I can consider principled in staying consistent in my beliefs, and calling out dark money and calling out funding which you don't know where it's coming, because, you know, there are cases where it has been known and found out that, you know, Republican billionaires are also funding both sides, you know, to a certain extent, because, you know, somebody on the left may be attacking somebody else on the left that they themselves have a beef with, and it helps for them to amplify that certain person on the left or in the Democratic Party, right? So we can't. It takes away from the guess game and figuring out who's getting money from who and for what reason. And why someone isn't speaking about it's like the whole AIPAC conversation in Congress, right? There's a reason why the dark money, why the Israeli lobby and the dark money that flows throughout Congress and the Senate is a problem, because it sways the decision-making abilities. It sways how these politicians vote or decide on who to send weapons to, or you know what I mean? It sways their beliefs depending on how much money they get. And if it's not made public to you, if it's not made known to you where these politicians are getting the money, then it's a guessing game as to why they're making the decisions that they're making. You know, there's been a lot of times where I'm like, well, what that guy just said, that makes absolutely no fucking sense. You know, I've heard him talk in the past. I've followed him a little bit, or him or her, whatever. And that what they just said does not really align with anything they've said in the past. Is there a reason? Then you go look up, and they've recently gotten, 2,200,000, whatever, from AIPAC or Israeli lobbyists. And you're like, okay, well, that, now it makes sense as to why they may be signing off onto more weapons going to Israel, or not signing off on more humanitarian aid going to Gaza. Like, it makes sense as to why, if you look in the background, which is why we've been trying to highlight on the show more and more just what politicians, regardless of what fucking side of the political aisle they're on, are receiving funds from these dark money groups behind the scenes. And just how it correlates with what the decision-making process and the way they vote on laws and such. All right, so again, thank you so much, Pastor Ben. What a professional, too. I had to drop out. My entire screen went black. My room died, I think. I had to resuscitate it with some CPR. And I come on here, and Ben is still running the show like I never fucking left. What a great guy he is. And again, thank you so much for being able to have a respectful conversation while coming down on, different sides of the aisle on that one. Because, again, I would find it very hard for myself to consider myself principled if I did not call out anybody I see getting money where you cannot trace it back, where you do not know where that money originates. If you don't know where it originates, it's hard to know what the end game is, right? So I appreciate you, Ben. Thank you so much. And anybody not subscribed to Ben Dixon's YouTube channel, whatever social media platform he's on, if you're not subscribed or following him, please make sure you do so. And if you're joining us from Ben's show and you're not subscribed to this channel and you like what you're hearing, if you like what you're seeing, if you like the fact that we can have a respectful conversation with each other, then make sure you hit that subscribe button. I would appreciate it. All right, let's get into our next topic of discussion, which was some of the biggest and most obvious Putin bootlicking and ass kissing that I have ever seen. Well, I guess I should probably say that I've ever seen since the last time this guy was in Moscow, touting how well and how funded and how stocked the Russian grocery stores were. Do you guys know who I'm talking about? And thank you to everybody who's gifted so far. Let me stop there. As I see JD once again gifting 5 memberships. Thank you, JD. I saw you a multitude of times in there donating. So thank you so much. As for the other amazing people, the Hood Nymph, Moms, JD, Rachel, JD, Slacks. Thank you so much. Linda Lou, Wes, Ruben, Susan, Marsha, JD again. You guys are all fantastic. And again, I'm sorry if I missed your chat. Go by in the chat the first time. Stick around at the end of the show. I do highlight everybody's super chat and give you guys the appreciation that you deserve. I promise. So yeah, let's get into a little bit of these degenerates. It's funny. Michael Knowles somehow making his second appearance on the Blunt Politics podcast in as many days, if I'm not mistaken. But this is Michael Knowles sitting down with Tucker Carlson. They discuss Trump, Israel, Candace Owens, why Christianity is booming despite the attacks. It is not so much the first few topics that they are discussing that I want to talk about, but let me see if I can get this at the appropriate time. But this is, again, some of the biggest bootlicking, the most obvious ass kissing from Tucker Carlson to Vladimir Putin that I have ever seen, especially, well, at least since, again, he was licking pineapples and sniffing bread in a Moscow supermarket. So I'm going to try to pick this up just a little bit before, but this section, this title, this section of his podcast is called, or show, whatever the fuck, Is Putin Actually Evil? And Michael Knowles, who works for the Daily Wire, if I'm not mistaken, or used to, one of the most degenerate and corrupt organizations on the planet there. And Tucker Carlson, again, one of the most bigoted and hateful human beings known to the media space, is going to tell us why Vladimir Putin is a better leader than Joe Biden. Why, again, he says this, why Vladimir Putin is a more consequential leader than Joe Biden. Again, whatever you have to say about Joe Biden and his misappropriations with the genocide in Gaza, the policies that he implemented inside of the United States kind of speak for themselves, right? The accomplishments inside of our country speak for themselves. Again, separate where you disagree, but to even suggest that Vladimir Putin is a better leader than Joe Biden is, or as Tucker Carlson says here, the best leader in his lifetime, is absolutely insane, right? Absolutely insane. And again, we have no love here for the lack of policies put in place to help the plight of the Palestinian people for whatever reason. But again, you cannot in good faith try to step on the accomplishments inside of the United States that managed to happen under the Biden administration. So let's see if we can just dive into a little bit of this, full screen it. And where are we? Is Putin actually? I'm going to start a little bit before so we don't miss anything.
1954 at Dien Bien Phu against the French. Like, there was never really a kind of consistent.
And just before, let me see, what were the other topics here? So the left exploitation of Greta Thunberg, why lawmakers hate nicotine. That's the most replayed. How digital world has detached. Why is Catholicism booming? How technology and wealth is corrupting the West. The Vatican. Okay. Is there salvation outside of the church? A lot about the church. Michael's journey from atheism to Christianity. Okay, don't give a shit. Norm Macdonald, devil, young Americans becoming conservative, another civil war. Will we see another civil war? The stage rumors are out there. Is Trump really a nationalist? No, I can answer that one for you. All right, nothing really to see. When do they? Doesn't really seem like they speak about Gaza too much. Didn't it say Gaza in the Trump and Israel? Yeah, doesn't it say Israel? Where do they speak about Israel? All right, let's get on with it.
That's
grand strategy.
Little known. Yeah, but not even grand strategy, but like a consistent worldview or instinct. Like the English, for all their many faults, at the height of empire, the height of the Victorian period, like they really believed they were superior. Now we deride that as racist, but you have to have that. You have to.
Again, this is Tucker Carlson trying to justify the fact that he feels that he or any race is a superior race to another. Again, remember the problem. Oh, thank you, Ricky. Thank you so much. More money for the Profanity Fund, as I am doing a lot of cursing. Thank you so much, Ricky. Thank you. I'm trying to do less, but it didn't seem to be working. You'd think if I was going to do less, I would probably pick the time I'm on with a pastor to do less swearing. But you can take the guy out of Boston, but you can't take the Boston out of the guy. Sorry, my apologies. And Alyosha has just reprimanded me on that too. Fuck. Sorry.
Believe my way is the better way.
Sorry, but the point that I was making is this again, what Untermenschen, right? What the Nazis called Slavs, what the Nazis called Jews, what the Nazis called gypsies, just unwanted people that were subhuman. They weren't on the same level. They weren't on the same racial profile in the hierarchy. And that's exactly what Tucker Carlson is trying to say here. You have to have that thinking. And he applauds the British for thinking when they, fucking took over so many different areas and stole and robbed and plundered, that they believed that they were superior human beings to these people and were, justified in their actions. Tucker Carlson is now applauding that side of or the lack of humanity, I should say.
Why are we doing this in the first place? To extract minerals? Like, that's not, over time, people can't sustain that. You really have to have an evangelical spirit, and we don't.
Well, Jim, you don't, but yes, I would like to see Tucker Carlson really try to make the case that Vladimir Putin is the most consequential leader in the history of his lifetime. We don't have to watch the whole thing, in which we're not, which is why I've cut it down to one certain section of it, and then we'll get on from there.
Have that.
Well, and think about what Trump's been knocked for, especially in the recent Alaska summit. He's been knocked for shaking hands with Putin and, being nice to him.
Yeah.
And I think, well, hold on. We've tried the other way. W. Bush tried to talk a little tough, or tried to be sweet and then talk.
Let's just stop. He's been knocked for shaking hands with the man while at the same time giving him ample opportunity and ample deadlines that have absolutely no consequences at the end of them, while allowing him to continue to send troops into areas like Pokrovsk, while continuing to send drones and missiles into places like Kyiv. Check this out. This was pretty wild to see. Let me see this. 3 hours ago. Yeah, this will show us here. This will break up the whole Tucker Carlson bullshit. Ukraine cabinet building hit in largest Russian strike of the war. Okay? Now, let me just tell you, I was staying in an area when I was in Kyiv, not far at all from this building, right? And this area was considered somewhat of a safe space, right? It was considered, I don't know if it was a triangle, I forget now what they called it, but it was some sort of space that, you know, different buildings which held dignitaries, media figures, ambassadors, whatever it may be, high profile individuals coming to Ukraine, coming to Kyiv, all stayed in this triangular area, so to speak, connected by, you know, certain hotels and buildings that was pretty much off limits, which the Russians had not attacked in some time, right? Which they knew, because it would create some sort of you know, a crisis, some geopolitical crisis, if they were to kill you know, media figures, dignitaries, Americans on humanitarian aid missions, so to speak, right? But if you look at this, let me see if they actually just show the building here, and I'll play Zelensky's statements. Let me just see if they show the building. Let me see if there's a picture here. Here we go. Here's the picture. This handout photograph posted on September 7, 2025, the official Telegram channel of Ukrainian Prime Minister Yulia Syerodynko shows rescue personnel working to extinguish a fire at the Ukrainian government building in Kyiv, Ukraine. Okay, so several times on my stay, I walked by this building. I'm pictured. I have pictures next to the building. Here's the square that you've seen pictures of me at, right? You've the tanks are not far away from here. Where we were staying is not far away from here. So to see them now escalating this to the point where they are now striking inside of this so-called safe zone, in which the, you know, Ukrainian cabinet building is held, in which many of these nicer hotels that hold, again, dignitaries, you know, high-profile media figures and alike, are now starting to be targeted again. And this, again, is just another spit in the face of Donald Trump, another smack in the face, another kick in the balls to Donald Trump, to show him that he has absolutely no leverage and no power in this whatsoever, which is, again, why he being Donald Trump, continues to put pressure on Volodymyr Zelensky in Ukraine as opposed to Vladimir Putin. But let's just take a listen to what Volodymyr Zelensky had to say in this little sit down right here.
Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky this morning is rejecting an invitation from Vladimir Putin for him to go to Moscow. President Trump suggested after his Alaska summit with Putin that Zelensky would meet with Putin soon. Well, at least 7 countries have offered to host, but Zelensky told ABC's chief global affairs correspondent Martha Raddatz why he would not be going to Russia. Take a look.
When you think about where we are right now, 3 weeks after the summit in Alaska, still no meeting between you and Putin. He said he will meet if you come to Moscow.
He can come to Kiev. You know, if a person doesn't want to meet during the war, of course he can propose something which can't be acceptable by me or by others. It's understandable.
Which, again, is a tactic known to us, the Russians are known for doing this. Again, remember how we told you that J.D. Vance was touting the concessions or, you know, lack thereof that Russia was pointing out, saying that Russia had now agreed to not install a puppet regime in Kyiv. Like that was in any way remotely fucking possible at this stage of the war, right? It's just not. It's just incredibly fucking ridiculous to think that's even anywhere a remote possibility that the Russians could just somehow pop into Kyiv, install a puppet regime, and fucking, you know, call it a day, right? It's insane. But to give that as a concession to Russia is just, again, given something that's absolutely impossible. It's like me promising not to jump to the moon and fucking rip it down so that, you know, it affects the tides or whatever the fuck. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, yeah, Okay, Grandpa. Yep, you couldn't do that if you tried anyway. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? It's just another one. It's just ridiculous, right? And to suggest that Volodymyr Zelensky is going to go to Moscow, again, the head of the regime, the fucking the capital of the regime that has been attacking them continuously for over a decade now, and you think he's going to fucking waltz his plane into Moscow for some fucking for some meeting? He better not touch any door handles. He better not shake any hands. He better not eat any food, drink any water, or breathe any air, I guess. It's just fucking ridiculous. And to suggest that now puts the onus back on Zelensky. So now Russia's going to be like, wow, we gave him the opportunity to come to fucking Moscow, and he didn't take it. No shit. You think? You fucking think? Did FDR fly to fucking, the Wolfschanze? When did FDR go and meet fucking Adolf Hitler in one of his fucking palatial estates? Didn't happen. Didn't happen. What we did is we crushed them and put them in a position where they had absolutely no choice but to surrender unequivocally in totality. You know what I mean? And that's exactly what we should be doing, continuing to give Ukraine the ability to crush any Russian forces located on the fucking sovereign territory of Ukraine, and to be able to strike deep inside of Russia to any military base that is responsible for sending up aircraft, launching any attacks, providing any assistance into this fucking war effort whatsoever, should be and are justifiable targets and should be fucking on the radar of the United States, and should be allowed, and Ukraine should be afforded the weapons to strike these targets. Now. Right the fuck now. Oops, sorry. My apologies. Let me finish out what Zelensky was saying here.
I can't go to Moscow when my country is under missiles, under attacks each day. I can't go to this capital of these terrorists. It's understandable, and he understands it.
And you can see more of Martha's exclusive interview with President Zelensky tomorrow.
All right, so to even suggest that as a remote possibility, and then to make it seem like Ukraine's the one that isn't stepping up to bat, isn't stepping up to the plate to do what's necessary, is again, I'm sure, going to be an angle taken by not only Vladimir Putin, by Donald Trump as well. All right, so let's see if we can go back to these assholes, and then we'll get into our next story. Again, you're gonna want to stick around for this. So to hear Tucker Carlson somehow try to justify Vladimir Putin as the best leader of his lifetime, of anybody, is fucking remarkable. I'm sorry, but that's something that needs to be seen. Check this out. Fuck. No, he starts the wrong one.
After the reset failed and Hillary Clinton couldn't spell a simple word in Russian, then that failed, and he talked really tough. Oh boy, was he tough. And Putin invaded into Crimea. And then you had Trump, and everyone just kind of chilled. And then you had Biden. Man, no one.
No. See, when you say chilled, what you mean is Donald Trump gave and afforded Vladimir Putin everything that he wanted, and was buddy and friendly, and there was no animosity whatsoever. So there was no reason for Vladimir Putin to, again, engage with Donald Trump the same way that he engaged with other past presidents, or presidents in the future, for that matter, who were adversarial against Vladimir Putin, who, again, were trying to sanction him and stop him at every turn. And again, we all have our criticisms of the way that Obama handled this to begin with. Right, rightly so. In the fact that we could have done more, considering the aptitude that Obama had for military action, right? But that's for a different day and a different conversation.
Talk tougher than Biden, huh? Oh, didn't he have such moral clarity? And Putin invaded further into Ukraine.
But
the world order collapsed.
Moral clarity thing is a clarity. If you think that Joe Biden was a better leader or a better man than Vladimir Putin, I don't even know what to say to you, but that's insane. There's by no measure, did Joe Biden's country, the people he solemnly swore to help and defend, did they thrive? No, they withered. Putin, who's been there for 25 years, his country's improved. The people are happy.
Again, with all of the economic policy put in place, with the infrastructure bill, the CHIPS Act, I mean, and the list goes on for policies that we put in place inside of our own country here, right? that again are going to continue helping Americans long into the future, even though Donald Trump is now trying to take down the signs that say fucking the infrastructure. This was paid by the infrastructure bill, put in by President Biden or whatever the hell it said. Now Donald Trump's replacing those signs. If you haven't seen that, and now putting his own name on these things. But to even suggest that the people of Russia, again, anywhere, even inside of these big cities. We always talk about how like outside of St. Pete or outside of Moscow, like things get drastically fucking different inside of Russia really, really quickly. Like it is not the glitz and the glamour of Moscow a couple blocks outside of what you know to be Moscow, right? People are shitting in buckets, pipes are freezing, lack of heat, lack of food, lack of nutrition, lack of employment. Right? Like these are fucking long-lasting problems that Russia has been facing for quite some time now. Right? Not to mention the million or so people they've lost due to this ridiculous conflict that they've perpetuated upon the Ukrainian people. But to think that this murderous fucking dictatorial villain, right, is in any way comparable, again, as bad a job as I think, and as much more that we could have done in order to stop what the government of Israel and what Benjamin Netanyahu has been perpetrating upon the Palestinian people. No way, shape, or form does that put him in the same fucking talking point, sentence, paragraph, or even essay as Vladimir Putin, right? Because you cannot substitute the person actually conducting the offensive, actually perpetrating the violence, to somebody that you see didn't do enough to stop it, right? Or you see didn't speak up enough to stop it, or continued to, assist it in some way. There's a definite disconnect there between the head ringleader of somebody actually given the go order, and somebody you think that wasn't speaking up enough against it, right? That I think we can all agree upon.
They like him, actually.
The war's been a little tough on Putin.
The war's, of course, it's been tough. Of course, it's been.
Listen to this fucking Russian propaganda, too. Michael Knowles here actually says, in response to Tucker Carlson saying the people of Russia love Vladimir Putin. Michael Knowles says, well, this war has been pretty tough on them. And listen to the fucking Russian propaganda that Tucker Carlson comes back with.
I'd be curious about public opinion today, this far into the war.
Well, actually, it's measured a lot.
It's measured a lot.
Yeah, look it up. And you can say, oh, that's all a lie. Okay, well, show me one.
Yeah.
Okay, go there.
Yeah.
And
No. Finish your thought. Finish your thought there. It's so well documented, right? And we should be able to, trust what the government of Russia is putting out about the sentiment of its own people. Again, the same people that will be locked up for, 15 to 20 years now if they protest against the war. Don't think that we've forgotten about that, right? So clearly, public sentiment is either being manipulated by the regime, either statistically, numerically behind the scenes, or the threats on the lives of the Russian people who dare to speak up against the actions of Vladimir Putin or the war itself, who face 15 to 20 years in a fucking Russian prison. Maybe that sways what they say when the person taking their survey calls them on the fucking phone, right? I don't think somebody picking up the phone in Russia, being asked a question about what the government is doing, is going to be really, really happy or eager or determined to come out with what they really think or feel on the phone, so they can be recorded and used against them somehow in the court of law or whatever the fuck it may be, right? So for Tucker Carlson here to come out with some of the most blatant Russian propaganda that absolutely goes along the lines of, you can trust the elections done in the occupied areas of Ukraine that were undertaken by the Russian Federation. Like, that's the next thing on Tucker Carlson's lips would be like, yeah, why can't we? Why couldn't you trust the votes of people that were made to vote and forced to vote with an AK-74 in their fucking chest, right? When the guy with the bombs and the grenades and shit knocks on the door and says, hey, we need your vote here. You don't think that's under duress? Right? You think that's an actual vote given by somebody that was free and clear to vote the way that they wanted? Unreal, dude. Unreal.
Look,
I mean, to be this ignorant or to try to defend or obfuscate this much? What is the point? What is the purpose? You're just making yourself look stupid. You think people don't know? People that aren't even educated or knowledgeable about Vladimir Putin to that extent know that he's a fucking maniacal lunatic. Know that he is not good to his own people. Know that he is not known for free and fair elections. Know that he is known for pushing people out of fucking roofs of buildings, out of windows, blowing up cars, ruthlessly governing his people. So you're either purposefully making yourself look like an asshole in hopes of defending or getting something in return for Vladimir Putin, or you are just really that ignorant. And I refuse to believe that somebody that is been involved in the media and has been on camera and reporting on things for so long is that ignorant to these situations. So it lends the question, it begs us to ask, what is he getting in return? What is Tucker Carlson? What benefit is there to Tucker Carlson to continue defending Vladimir Putin right now? What is he getting?
Not moving to Russia, but I mean, Putin has been the most effective.
And this is, I mean, did you hear that? I mean, he's defending and talking so highly of Vladimir Putin in Russia. He literally has to come out and say, I'm not like moving to Russia or anything. Like even he knows how fucking sycophantic and ridiculous he sounds. Listen to this shit.
And you can say, oh, that's all a lie. Okay, well, show me one.
Yeah.
Okay, go there. Yeah. And look, I'm not moving to Russia, but I mean, Putin has been the most effective leader in my lifetime. I can't think.
The most effective leader in Tucker Carlson's lifetime has been Vladimir fucking Putin. Now, if we're talking about just sheer control over his people, sheer ability to stay in power through ruthless force, through murderous tyranny, then I guess you could maybe give not credit, but you could recognize that part of it. But shouldn't we also call that out for what it is? Anti-democratic, incredibly authoritarian, dictatorial, murderous, genocidal, psychotic, right? As opposed to considering him the most consequential president or leader of your entire fucking lifetime. Again, without any pushback on anything that he's done. Listen.
He's been more effective one.
He's been a very stable leader for Russia.
But why?
A very stable leader for Russia. Okay. Let's see here. Russia's, I don't know, what could you look up there? Let's see here. Let's see. It's going to keep bringing up that one. Let's see. Give me a second. I'm trying to figure out what would be the best thing to, let's see. I guess we could just show this one real quick. I'm sure this goes to show just how good Putin is. Putin has been accused of starving civilians as a warfare tactic. Will the ICC agree? November 16th, international human rights law firm Global Rights Compliance released a report alleging that months prior to Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine, Russian forces engaged in a highly coordinated level of pre-planning to weaponize Ukrainian grain. So that's, again, could be considered a war crime. I thought that was on his people here, but let me see if I can. So that's about Ukraine. I'm talking about his own people. Let's see here. Pictures of Russia. Let's see. I don't want to take too long. Yeah, his people. Here you go. Bread lines. I don't know what years these are from, though. So I'll refrain. I'll refrain from that argument, but I don't think it's too crazy to see that the treatment of the people outside of, again, these bigger cities, and especially we talk about St. Pete in Moscow and bigger Russian cities as if they are on par with helping their people at all, and they're not even they. Remember when Moscow was freezing? Remember these? Let's see, Moscow. That's what I should show. Pipes freeze. Remember this whole debacle that they were dealing with that was covered up? Yeah, I'll just play this one.
Housing and utility systems have failed in half of Russia's regions, leaving hundreds of thousands of residents without heat, electricity, and
gas.
This is
Moscow.
According to the Moscow Times, since the beginning of 2024,
this is Moscow. As
accidents
you can see,
have occurred in at least
as you can see from the top left, Moscow region in Russia. And this is what the people are dealing with, just so you know, in case you are actually curious as to how the Russian people are being taken care of by Vladimir Putin. Here you go.
43 regions. The most significant incident took place in Klimovsk, near the city of Podolsk, which is 50 kilometers from Moscow. The emergency shutdown of heating from the boiler room.
Just 50 kilometers outside of Moscow, ladies and gentlemen, and this is what people are dealing with.
The Klimovsk specialized ammunition plant was caused by a burst pipe, leaving 20,000 people without heat and minus 30 degrees Celsius temperature.
Minus 30 Celsius and 20,000 people without heat or running water. Now, does that sound like a leader that has really prioritized his population and the infrastructure of his people to make sure that they have adequate systems to rely upon in situations when it's, I don't know, brutally cold, brutally hot, that type of thing? No, it doesn't really seem like he's caring about that too much. And again, we could go on and show the plight of the Russian people, again, both inside and outside of major cities in Russia. But I don't think it's any secret as to, again, the way that the Russian people are treated, especially if you're not ethnically Russian as well. Something else to be talked about. All right, let's see if we can dive back into this. There's only a couple more minutes that I wanted to show, and then we'll get on to our next story here. Appreciate you guys. Thank you. Hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel. If you find yourself watching, you coming back a lot and you're not subscribed, check that real quick. Just, hop out, see if I am subscribed. If you're not, hit that subscribe button. It is a free option. It's totally free to do. Hit that like button. Share the stream out. Drop some emojis in the chat. Just lets everybody know that you're engaged and you like what you're watching. It goes a long way in helping. And again, I might have to stop saying independent media at this point, but I am 100% funded by you and you alone. And you have the ability to either help this channel grow or watch it fall face first in the dirt. But I appreciate you guys and those continuously help this channel. And, we're on our way to hopefully 13,000 subscribers at this point, on our way to 14 and 15. And then we'll hopefully the sky's the limit after that. But I do appreciate you guys. I really do. I hope I tell you enough.
Is he more evil than Joe Biden?
Yeah, well,
I can't even conceptualize that.
Tucker Carlson can't conceptualize that Vladimir Putin is more evil than Joe Biden. Can't conceptualize. Can't even get it through his brain.
So you could say, look, I don't know his religious views, but he's promoted Christianity within Russia
aggressively.
Yes, to combat liberalism and all these other forces. Joe Biden has imprisoned pro-lifers and sued nuns.
Well, exactly, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But whatever.
But I guess the reason that I kind of pull away a little bit from
So we're not going to talk about the anti-gay sentiment, the anti-trans sentiment, the anti-racial sentiment, the bigotry, the homophobia, the racism that is prolific. And again, the way that the church is used in Russia is a lot different than the way that the church is used inside of the United States. So that's another thing that people don't really understand when they're talking about Christianity and the use of the church inside of Russia. Doesn't really align too much with your beliefs when you dig down into it.
This is kind of neo-Kanye to me, is the sort of the purely good and evil.
I totally agree with that.
And to me, I think, well, look, I'm on the side of
my time check. I got to do a time check. 11:38. What time did I start? So I got about 20 minutes. All right. So why don't we dive into this then? Let's dive into this because I don't want to shortchange ourselves here. This is what we'll finish up on. This is just a little bit of the I've had it ladies once again, both Jen and Pumps doing the Lord's work, I shall say. This time they're talking about Zoran Mamdani destroys Trump's corrupt attempt to steal the election. And I think they have some really, really good views as it pertains to critiquing the Democratic Party.
Get their shit together. This is
Stop. All right. And I think it's very this is the way. And I think there's a reason why Jen and Pumps here, why the I've Had It podcast is on the rise, why they've seen the explosion in viewership and why they continue to be shown by people like me as an example of how we should be doing things, is because they're not afraid and they're showing a great way to not only highlight how dangerous and that the most dangerous thing is the Republican Party and Donald Trump, but also using the time and their platform to critique and criticize the Democrats in ways that are can be beneficial to our party and helping us win elections in the future, which is going to be incredibly important come midterms, right? Like we're going to need to have our shit together. Talking points, who we want supported, what policies we want supported, who we're willing to call out, who we're not willing to call. Like that's shit that we are going to have to fucking buckle down and figure out, coming up really quickly here. So let's just take a look at a little bit of what the I've Had It ladies had to say. Speed it up just a touch so we can get through just a little bit more maybe than we might have originally, and then we'll go on with this. All right, thank you guys. I'm Boston Brian. This is Blunt Politics. Hit that like button. Let's go on with Janet Pumps from I've Had It. Let's go.
The Democratic Party has got to get their shit together. This is an incredible moment.
I'll be right back. I'm just going to grab a drink. I shall be right back.
For our country, the approval ratings for the Democratic Party are in the gutter, and it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out why this is happening. And we can look no further than the New York mayoral race, where you have a Democrat, Eric Adams, a Democrat, Andrew Cuomo, a Democrat, Zoran Mamdani. And Zoran is having to fight Democrats after the Democratic primary is finished. He won. He dunked on everybody in the Democratic primary, and he's having to still fight people within their party because they're so entitled and they're so MAGA-esque that they are now running as independents. When the voters of New York have spoken in a very Trumpian way, segments of the Democratic Party just behave like MAGA light. So it will surprise no one that now Trump is trying to get Eric Adams out of the race. And the Politico is reporting that New York City Mayor Eric Adams faces a decision, a Trump administration post to drop his re-election campaign. Apparently, they've offered him a role in the MAGA government because what they're trying to do is.
I love how it's just like normal now for. Hold on, let me shut the door. My apologies. I love how it's just like normal now for a politician like fucking Cuomo to get his ass handed to him, running as one political party or for one political party, right? And then to just be like, all right, I guess I'll just run as an independent now and see if that gets me anywhere. It's like, no, you just got your ass handed to you. What the fuck are you talking about? You know? Like, I don't see how that should be allowed. I don't see how that's something that should be fucking like, oh yeah, let him just change his party and let him like running. I don't know.
Is get Eric Adams out so that it's a two-man race. So Zoran will run against Cuomo. And this is breathtaking considering the Democratic primary has already happened. And he didn't kind of win. He kicked their bloody asses all over the electorate. He is wildly popular. People like this message, and he is not beholden or corrupt like these MAGA politicians are, these MAGA light politicians, like Cuomo, who's beholden to Israel, like Eric Adams, who's as corrupt as all get out. And now here's.
Oh, for crying out loud. What happened? What were the three failures, VD? 3 times failure to stop known lies in the chat. Bye-bye. Meaning what? Please be more specific if you can. Would help greatly in the cleanup process.
A quote, here is a video of Mamdani, who rarely goes negative, talking about what he's up against.
I don't care about who we will face in November. We'll beat them all. It's the question of how we can actually stand up for this city. And the fact that I'm here talking about other Democrats. I mean, what do these people actually stand for besides power? That's the question that I have.
Pumps. Okay, 2 things. Why does Donald Trump want Andrew Cuomo to be the mayor of New York City so bad? I think that's the question you have to ask yourself. And Eric Adams already sold New York City out to Donald Trump because he had a criminal conviction.
Well, there's your answer, I think, because it's already been shown to Donald Trump that Eric Adams is willing to bend the knee, is willing to kiss his boot, right? Is willing to capitulate in any way in order to receive some favorable treatment, right? When he was going for, what was he going for his pardon there? I forget exactly what the hell it was, but I think he was shooting for a pardon that he got. Did he end up getting? I think he did, right? So much has happened, so I apologize on that one. But he was at least going after some favorable treatment from the people in power, kissing their ass and sucking up to them. So I think it's been pretty clear to Donald Trump that he can manipulate or use Eric Adams, as he sees fit, which is another reason why he sees that like probably the same thing in Andrew Cuomo. So either one of those people or anybody that he sees he can manipulate, and if they get in power, it's obviously better for Donald Trump as opposed to somebody like Zoran Mandami, who's not going to take his bullshit and is going to actively fight against him and his policies at every fucking turn.
And now he wants Cuomo. So that's a red flag in my book. And the Democratic establishment, I feel like they're going to keep us from fighting the way we should against MAGA and these Republican policies. And then they have somebody that is wildly popular, like you said, that one big, and they can't endorse him because he's not beholden to the same people they are. That's a problem. That is why we have lost the last 2 presidential elections and lost the House last election cycle.
Okay, and it gets worse, Pumps. It gets worse because...
I mean, there's a strong argument to be made there. I mean, a lot of the argument against some of the, corporate Dems are the fact that they are more willing to keep the status quo as opposed to push for substantial change, right, or substantial progress. In which, we progressives are calling for. So that's a lot of the, pushback, a lot of the, the fucking rhetoric against some of those people, again, that are willing to take AIPAC money, but also claim that they're fighting for leftist policies when in reality, those two things don't align. And it gives you a real conflict of interest going into bill signings, going into interviews on what you can and can't say and what you can support and what you can't support. And if that is stopping you from aligning with your, again, what you are claiming to be progressive policies, then, you need to take a real hard look in the mirror to see where you're accepting money from and how that's changing you as not only a politician, but as a person. Oops, sorry.
It's also that it's not only that he's not beholden to these corporations that shackle Cory Booker, that shackle Chuck Schumer, that shackle Hakeem Jeffries. He also has the same message that Bernie Sanders has, but he doesn't face people within his own party. Bernie Sanders doesn't face people saying what New York Congressman Tom Suozzi says to the press. Listen to this.
Mamdani and other Democratic socialists should create their own party because I don't want that in my party.
All right. Tom Suozzi, have you ever said that about Bernie Sanders, the white guy? Have you ever said that about him? Because people in New York want him. The Democratic Party wants to move away from a party that is...
Right, and it's crazy to seem like this is just Zoran standing out there on a ledge by himself with absolutely no support, and it's just like, left field with no momentum or anything to justify, backing him as a candidate. Like, there is clear support, there is clear momentum behind him. There is clearly something going on where we've seen the highest turnout in a mayoral fucking primary, right? So, I mean, there's something to be said from that, especially in New York City, right? So why there's such like restraint? Why is there like the inability or the anxious feelings that some of these top Dems have in getting behind and throwing their hats in the ring with Zoran is really fucking confusing, but at the same time not very confusing when again you look behind the scenes at who's contributing financially to these people's campaigns, right?
Holden to corporations, to the drug lobby, to the oil lobby, to the Israel lobby. We want to move away from that because we lost 2 elections to a fucking moron. And I just think you are so out of touch. And this pisses me off so much because I guarantee you, if Zoran Mamdani were white and Christian, that he wouldn't say that like this. There is
right. We have been given a specific set of tools, right? Like the fucking like Liam Neeson in Taken, right? He's been provided with a certain set of skills and tools, and he shall use them to the best of his abilities, right? Like if we once again go into this fucking election cycle with more ammunition than any political party could ever even fucking hope to have in opposition research against the other party, and we fucking fail and flail and we don't get our fucking shit together and we don't take back the House and we don't start this fucking country back on the right path, we are in some serious fucking shit, okay? And to not use everything at our disposal, including the momentum behind candidates like Zoran Mamdani, is fucking an egregious misstep, an egregious fucking misuse of power. And something that should not be tolerated, because anything that is going to further our abilities to win elections, to accrue different voters and to to gather our base back. If you're going to do something to hinder that, then you're not actively fighting for the team. You're fighting against us.
Is this attack on him that is cooked in, that is built in because he's a Muslim and because he has a weird name like Barack Obama did. And it's disgusting to me that people in New York are not listening to their voters. And he won the Jewish vote. He won the rich white people vote. He won the working class vote. He cleaned their clock all over all the boroughs. And you have people within the Democratic Party out of New York saying this on TV. Has he said that about Bernie? Because here's the deal, Tom Suozzi. Why don't you go and try to fill up an arena the way...
it should be said for those who aren't familiar, has been Bernie Sanders, who's been calling himself a democratic socialist for, 25, 30 years now. Again, I have not heard the calls from people like Tom Suozzi or anybody else calling for, at least recently, for Bernie Sanders to, go out and start his own political party, even though he's not a Democrat. So it's kind of a little bit of a different situation, but not much. But you don't hear anybody saying, hey, go out and don't infect our party with that bullshit. When in reality, they're very happy to say that to Zoran because of either his skin color, his last name, or the fact that, again, the Democratic leadership has not stepped up to back him, which gives everybody else the ability to start taking shots like this.
Mamdani could, the way AOC can, the way Bernie Sanders can. I bet you're not going to get that many people to show up. Maybe you form your own party and you call it MAGA Light. We're almost just as bad as Trump because that's what this is.
See, I don't see this as Dem infighting, right? I see this as more strategy. This is more strategizing going into an election cycle, going into midterms, whereas we as a party should be strategizing and at least talking about why we're not using what could be, hugely beneficial, what could be a huge momentum boost, which could, affect some real change, and we could, step on the backs of that and use that to leapfrog ahead in our abilities to advance our policies and take over the House again and regain control of the presidency. Like, as opposed to doing that, I think it's just strategy. It's a strategic talk as to why we're not doing that. I don't think it's really infighting. The infighting is more along the lines of why you taking AIPAC money to begin with, and anybody taking AIPAC money should be fucking looked at with a highly skeptical lens. I'd say that's more the the infighting, but this is more just, hey, why the fuck aren't you supporting a candidate that is clearly popular, clearly has momentum, and clearly could give us a boost at a time where we are desperate for any victory, desperate for any boost that we can possibly get. Like, why are we slapping that away while also trying to find anything to hold on to, right? It's like, well, there's a rope right in front of us, but we keep swatting it away, looking for the right rock that just doesn't exist. It's like, there's a fucking rope right there. Grab onto it, you fucking moron.
The attacking your own party in your own state is really breathtaking, because I look at this as a microcosm for the Democratic Party in general. What is it? 7 to 9% of Democrats support giving money to Israel, continue to support this war that we're funding in Israel, and they still continue to vote for it. Like, overwhelming majority. Listen to your voters, because we're not stupid like MAGA voters. We don't vote we like craven hatred and racism. We vote on how we want our politicians to represent us, and they're not listening. This is an example that is nationwide, in my opinion.
And more importantly, the Democratic base voters reject people that have over 20 accusations of sexual misconduct in Andrew Cuomo. So why are you guys pushing them so hard? Why are you pushing this? We don't want somebody.
The fact that Andrew Cuomo's name is even involved in another political race just goes to show that we have not gone as far as we think we have gone in society. Right, we have not progressed as much as we think we have. If in this time when when the president is a 34 fucking count felon, when he has said incredibly disgusting things like grabbing women by the crotch is okay without their consent, without their permission, because he's a star and they let you do it. Talking about his involvement with Jeffrey Epstein. The way that you speak about this, and then the way that those things have been highlighted, clearly we have not done a great job in shaming the people accused of these things. Clearly, we have not done a great job as a society of making these people feel uncomfortable and unwanted, where a person like Andrew fucking Cuomo has no problem bringing his face back into the spotlight, no shame whatsoever, running again for another position of power after what he has been fucking alleged to have done, accused of. Well, that's what I mean. The fact that our president is a sexual predator gives us the ability to call that out and to shame people that are also either following that sexual predator or are sexual predators themselves, which should lead them to fucking staying their ass in the fucking closet at home and being ashamed to reveal their face and definitely being too ashamed to run for political office. But clearly we have not progressed that far, right? Clearly it's been normalized to a point where Andrew Cuomo finds it okay, and other people, for that matter, find it okay to just dive right back into the public fucking sphere after being credibly accused of such fucking horrendous acts, right?
Like that representing women. We're done with that. In the face of all the misogyny from MAGA, where you have Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, who retweeted his pastor, all of Christ, all of the time. And the video that he retweeted, this pastor said he didn't think women had the right to vote and wanted to do away with the 19th Amendment. And then you think we're so dumb, like Fox News viewers, that we want some guy who is himself a misogynist, who sucks up to Donald Trump? It is abhorrent.
This is just what I believe is Democrats trying to put together the best fucking squad, right? The best team, the best unit, the most cohesive fucking unit to go into midterms fighting with, right? So this is why we need to start building the coalition and start, calling out people that aren't rightly supporting candidates that have momentum, have the right policies, have the right rhetoric, solely because of their last name, solely because of their, pro-Palestinian views. To not use that because of the AIPAC money or Israel lobby money that you're getting in the background to again, stop the furthering of society, stop the progression of society, is you just standing in the fucking way. So this is just us putting together the best team, I think, which is the right thing to do. You want to go into these situations. You don't go into the Super Bowl or the Stanley Cup or the World Series without having put together the best squad you could possibly field, right? Without having the most fucking knowledge and research about what the other team does, about how the other coach coaches, about what they do in certain situations, right? There's a man on first, 2 outs, third inning, the bottom of the lineup is up. There's a certain fucking thing that you can expect them to do in this situation. And if you're, prepared for that and you can, combat that right off the jump and not let that take advantage of you, then you're only furthering your ability to win elections. Right. So to put together the best team, to put together people that aren't funded by Israeli lobbyists, that aren't funded by AIPAC, that aren't going to put obstructions in the way of progression, that aren't going to say, no, we're not going to back this candidate because he's brown, because his last name, because of this policy or whatever, even though he has an incredible amount of support behind him, then we're going to call that out because we're putting together the fucking A team. And people that stand in the way don't get put on the fucking A team. So unless you're ready to fight, unless you're ready to fucking walk the walk, just like you're talking the talk, then get the fuck out of the way and let us put together the all-star team that we know that we can put together in order to have the best chance of taking back as many fucking seats in the House, as much of the fucking Senate as humanly possible, and to get back the presidency, right? And I don't think that's too much to ask for. And I don't think it's something that people should be complaining about, us trying to, again, critique our own side, criticize our own side in order to get the best players in place to make the best run at the fucking midterms, right? That's what we should be doing. That's not the time to do that is not the run up into the midterm elections. The time to do that is now, well before the midterm elections, so that we can be set and ready to fucking rock and roll when this shit does kick off, right? So why don't we get into thanking everybody so I can let you get on with your fabulous weekend, ladies and gentlemen. First thing I'm going to do is go to Venmo. I'm going to make sure that I highlight, recognize, and thank everybody that contributed via Venmo, and then we'll go over to YouTube and thank everybody over there. But thank you so much to Teague. Thank you so much to JD. Thank you so much to Linda. Thank you so much to Michael. And thank you so much to Thomas, Nancy, Jennifer, and Jimbo. I appreciate you. And Roxanne, and Claudia, and Linda, and Dame Dog. Dame Dog's probably still hungover from his birthday, if I'm not mistaken. So I appreciate him hopping in here to donate as he did. Let me get in here to the YouTube people to start thanking everybody on the old YouTubes. First one in here today, the Hood Nymph. Let's go. Welcome, Pastor Ben. Thank you so much for hopping in here to check out the interview. I think it was a great discussion to be had. I think there's many different sides that people fall on in that discussion, and that different in that situation specifically. So check it out. Hopefully you like what you hear and you like what you see in the discussion. And I appreciate you for being here. I really do. Thank you so much for your contributions as well. Thank you so much, moms. I appreciate that. Love to you as well. Right back at you. I appreciate you being here. Thank you so much, JD, for the profanity bonus. Thank you so much. Big day for JD too. I can already tell. I feel it. I had a couple F-bombs dropped in there. Thank you so much, JD. I appreciate it. Taylor rubs people the wrong way based on the way she talks about COVID. She's right that it's still around, but she individualizes blame, says Rachel. Thank you so much, Rachel, for not only your contribution, but also the information there. And again, yes, I have heard people have really strong reactions to Taylor and in her reporting. And again, that's why I tried to, in my assessment of the article, try to remove, her or anything she said in the past or done, and just try to, go after the article for the facts. And again, I was not really satisfied with the reaction, as we made very clear in my discussion, as was, rightly called out at the same time by Pastor Ben, who, even though he falls on a different side of the coin on this discussion, possibly, still, we were in agreement with the fact that the response to this was only going to further and help add fuel to the discussion here. So thank you so much, Rachel. I appreciate you. Thank you so much, JD, once again, for being here for 17 months. Let's go. Destination Crustacean Nation. Let's fucking go, dude. Oh, I appreciate that, JD. Let's go. Right back at it with the moderator majesty bonus. You should start fucking copyrighting patents into these names here on YouTube. You might be onto something. I appreciate it, dude. And thank you, Slacks, so much. This is my last $10, Brian, with the wink face. I love you, Brian, Mel, Dungaree Dog, Logan. Love to all my fellow Bryantologists, and thank you in advance for all of your kind greetings. Well, hopefully that wink means that's not the truth there, and you were just kind of yanking my chain on that one, Slacks. I appreciate you, as always, for your kind contributions, your loyalty, for always being here, for being kind to the chat. We really appreciate you here over at the Blunt Politics chat, and we continuously appreciate you and your loyalty to help keeping us going here. Same thing goes to Linda Lou. What's up? Gifted 5 memberships. Thank you so much, Linda. I appreciate that. Make sure everybody that received one of those 5 gifted memberships is thanking Linda Lou for the work that she continues to do. And now I just feel like I'm rhyming because I'm a rhyming fool. No, I'm just kidding. But thank you, Linda. I appreciate you very much. Thank you so much, Wes. Many of us are old and on a fixed income, but most of us are not really poor. We are just frugal. Well, amen to that, Wes. And I appreciate you squeezing me into your frugality. I appreciate your support and everything you do. I really do. So thank you very, very much, Mr. Wes. Let's see. Ruben, thank you so much for the huge $20. Let's go. Thank you, Brian. I hope this helps, my friend. It absolutely does. I will have you know it goes a long way in helping this channel grow and, continue to make sure that the lights stay on, the camera works, that type of stuff. So it absolutely goes a long way. And tell your odd friend there I said hello. Thank you so much, Ruben. Thank you, Susan. Important conversation. Thank you, Brian. Respect. Yeah, I really wanted to have it. Like I said, you really couldn't make a turn on social media. You couldn't scroll too far without seeing, somebody, some account, some channel that had something to say on this or was talking about it. So I felt like it was definitely worth having the conversation, considering I've seen so many different takes and so many different people talking about it that, I didn't feel like the 2 cents I gave the other day was sufficient enough. And obviously with Pastor Ben having written his article, I wanted to make sure to give him some time to, come out with his point of view as well. So again, we appreciate him taking the time out. Thank you, Susan, for your contributions. Thank you, Marcia, for being here for 4 months. Even if we don't agree, important to respect guests. Absolutely. Absolutely. Very good point, Marcia. Very good point. Thank you, Susie, for being here for 8 months. Let's fucking go. We are in a fight for democracy. And that is, at the clearest way to get this point across is that we are definitely in a fight for democracy right now. When you see, fucking armored personnel carriers rolling down city streets, when you see the president of the United States openly declare war, even though he says he didn't. Here, let me see if I can pull up. I know there was a couple. Let me see if I can find this. There was a couple clips, I think, from this morning of Trump being questioned. Oh, no, can I?
No.
Please? Oh, hi, Gav. Hi, buddy. Hi, dude. Hi, my man. I am staring. I know you're not going to be able to tell, but I am staring at the most handsome 5-month-old baby that has ever been created in the world of history. And he is the cutest, and I would like to hold him and squeeze him right now, but I don't know if that's legal. All right. Maybe one day when he grows up. Bye, bud. All right. We'll talk to you later. All right. One more thing. I was just going to show this real quick, if I may. Aaron. Let's see. I'm just trying to think of who might have the clips the quickest. Is this one of them here? Yeah, this is one of them here. Let's see if we can take a look at this clip. This is Donald Trump being questioned by a reporter, I believe, about going to war with American cities. Yeah, that's what it says there. Let me see if I can play this. Hey, let me see if I can. Just want to make sure this is what you're looking at. I'll put this on the screen for you guys. That's not it. But this is. Make it bigger. And away we go.
Say that, darling. That's fake news. Well, why would the Department of Defense? Listen, be quiet. Listen. You don't listen. You never listen. That's why you're second rate.
He told her to be quiet. He says you never listen. I believe. I don't know if the whole question is in here. It's definitely quiet. Let me see if I can turn it up. No, it's all turned up as loud as it can go. Let me see if I can catch the question in the beginning. I think she said, "Are you ready to go to war with Chicago?" And he says,
Darling, that's fake news.
"When you say that, that's fake news."
Listen, be quiet. Listen.
He says, "Be quiet.
You don't listen.
You don't listen.
Listen. That's why you're second rate.
That's why you're second rate."
We're not going to war. We're going to clean up our cities. We're going to clean them up so they don't kill 5 people.
We're not going to war. We're going to clean up our cities, he says, which is, again, in a direct contravention to what he said online on Truth Social, which, and again, the name change that he's been dying and lauding over for the last, I don't know how long, to the War Department now, But I think there was one more of these clips. I may be wrong, but I thought there was another clip here.
Vice.
But that might be the only one that was there for this morning. All right. That's where he tells the reporter, you're going to find, oh, yeah, let me see. This is when he was asked if he's going to war with Venezuela or if he's planning to strike Venezuela. Let's see what he has to say here. Make sure you guys are looking at this. Here we go. And away we go.
Are you considering attacking the cartels inside of Venezuela? What are you going to find out?
So I believe what the gentleman said was, are you planning any attacks inside of Venezuela? Let me see if I can play that one more time, see if we can catch the reporter's question. Let's see here.
Are you considering attacking the cartels inside of Venezuela?
Are you considering attacking, and I couldn't quite get what the next word was, but inside of Venezuela, and Donald Trump's response is,
what are you going to find out?
You're going to find out. Again, doesn't instill much confidence in the fact that our president isn't going to undertake more illegal strikes, more illegal murders to people that are, again, only suspected of committing crimes. Again, not something that typically in the United States we undertake as a part of our judicial system is extrajudicial killings of people, again, that haven't been proven guilty in a court of law. Again, not to mention the information, the abundance of information we probably could get from either, again, A, making sure that those bundles were drugs on the 30-foot fucking fishing boat that they sunk, and then B, possibly testing the drugs to, again, find out more information about what's in it, how it's being used, and then C, to question the 11 individuals, before they were dead, to, again, go up the chain and gain more information on the cartel, and maybe taking it all the way back to where it's manufactured, or even where this stuff is bought, distributed, grown, in order to, again, save more lives than you would by just taking out a 30-foot fucking speedboat. But all right, where did I leave off? I apologize. Let me see. I think I did Susan. I think I did Marsha. Probably should rephrase that. I've highlighted Susie's comment. Let's see here. JD, thank you so much for the 5 gifted. Ricky, thank you so much for the $5. More money for the profanity fund as I'm doing a lot of cursing. Thank you, guys. Sorry to make you curse so much. I really am. Tucker's interview with Ben Cohen was so odious. Ben Cohen. Why do I know that name? Tucker's interview with Ben Cohen. Was that the last one he did? I'll have to check that one out, Rach. I'll have to check that one out. Oh, Angry Ginge, let's fucking go, brother. Trump gives Putin 2 weeks every 2 weeks. Yes, absolutely right. I mean, it was a 50-day deadline followed by a 21-day deadline, followed by a 10-day deadline, followed by a 12-day deadline, followed by no deadline, followed by no consequences. So again, all of the time, all of that time was spent by Russia and Vladimir Putin, again, rearming, continuously shipping more troops into areas like Pokrovsk, like we've been highlighting, continuously sending missiles and drones into, again, cities like Kyiv that we highlighted today. So you're absolutely right, Angry Ginger, and I appreciate all the work that you do, my man. Thank you so much for stopping by. Anybody that's not following The Angry Ginger, make sure you hop over there, check him out. And if you like what you're hearing, if you like what you're seeing, make sure you give him a follow and subscribe, all right? I appreciate you, buddy. Are you a fan of NFKRZ? What about Elvira Barry? So NFKRZ, I am definitely a fan of. I've been watching him for a long, long time. I was very happy to see that he has finally made the move into other parts of Europe. I know he's been struggling for a long time. I think he was in, what was he, in Turkey? I think he was in Turkey for a little bit while he was battling with Russia. But yes, I am very aware. Elvira, not so much. I'll have to write that one down and take that. I'll have to check that one out. Elvira Barry. I appreciate that, Rachel. Thank you so much. I'll have to check him out. But I appreciate the $2 contributions. I appreciate your input, and I appreciate you checking out the show. Thank you so much, Marsha, for the one gifted. Thank you so much, Sylvia, a.k.a. Stargal46, for the $7. Thank you so much. I appreciate that, and hello to you. Thank you very, very much. Marsha, again, last donation for the month. Sure wish I could do more for you, Boston. Brian, you've done more than enough. You've gone above and beyond anything that I ask of any of the chatters, any of the viewers that watch this show. Again, just $1 from everybody in the chat or $1 from the majority of the chat would go a long, long way in not only helping the show, but taking the burden off of other people that, again, may not be in the financial position to continue to fund the show and continue to come out of pocket, which I completely understand. Having lost 50% of my income, actually more than 50% of my income, giving up a lucrative plumbing career to do this full time, I am very much aware and side by side with you that side by side with the people that are struggling financially and have to, really look at where that money is going and to, pinch pennies where you can. So again, if you're in the financial position to do so, do I ask that, if you like what you're seeing, if you like what you're hearing, to contribute either via Venmo up here in the corner, which is the fastest, most direct way to get the funds to where you want them to go, or by becoming a channel member just underneath me. There's also patreon.com/Boston Brian, which you can see on the ticker, I believe, just underneath me as well. For as little as $5, you can help contribute to this show, help produce the show, get you involved in the Zoom chats. Again, I appreciate and I try to do as much for you guys as I possibly can while trying to keep this as independent as humanly possible. I had a comment on one of the last things that somebody noticed, that after almost 2 years that the YouTube runs ads. If you don't have a premium subscription, that has absolutely nothing to do with me. Every time I possibly can, I even take away the option for YouTube to run ads in the middle of the show, which I don't like. I think in the 2 years that I've been doing this, I have made a total of $32 off of whatever YouTube does with their ads or whatever. So I am not very ad friendly with the topics that I discuss, nor with the language that I use. So I am not benefiting whatsoever from whatever stupid YouTube ads that they put on for people that don't have a premium subscription. I don't sell you anything. There are no millionaire backers of the show that are hiding behind the scenes giving me $8,000 a month, nor would I accept it without telling you if there was. So let me continue down the list before I get on a rant here. Thank you, Nordez, as always, huge contributor to the show. Thank you, Sheldon, as well, huge contributor to the show. Like I was just saying, Nordez, huge contributor to the show. For the profanity jar, thank you so much. Rosanna, thank you so much. I appreciate that. You too. Hopefully having a wonderful weekend together. Let me see here. Rachel, again, went to Jerome Whalen's congressional campaign kickoff yesterday in Belchertown, Massachusetts. Richie Neal has a fight on his grubby corporate hands this year. Oh, I appreciate you for being so involved, Rachel. That's awesome. That's awesome to hear. And I hope you guys do well. I hope you guys have a good fight on your hands. And I'm looking forward to hearing more about it. But thank you so much for contributing, letting us know, and also, stepping up and helping different campaigns out there. And thank you to round it out to Jenny Faye as well. Just a quick hello to everybody. Hugs, love, and light to you, Brian, Mel, Logan, Marvelous Mods, and all the great Bryantologists in the chat. Have a super Sunday. Right back at you, Jenny Faye. Thank you so much for your continued support, both through Venmo, through Super Chats. It's fantastic to see. We appreciate you so much. Just want to check back here. Thank you to, I'll just say CR, because I'm never sure if anybody wants me to say their name on Venmo. So I'll just say thank you so much to CR. For the $5 Venmo that you snuck in after I finished it. But you guys are amazing. I'm way over time. I apologize. Continue your amazing Sundays together with your friends, your families, your loved ones. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to watch me, Boston Brian, here at Blunt Politics, the political podcast made to sift through the bullshit, propaganda, and lies of the mainstream media, Donald Trump and the Republican Party, to break it down for everyday working class individuals like you and like me, because that's who's affected by these policies. I will see you Tuesday for the Tuesday show. Make sure you're hitting that bell to remind yourself when I go live. George, what's up, boy? Hey, you handsome motherfucker. Love you, Boston Brian, Mel, and Lobsters. Good to see you, dude. Good to see you, my man. OG George in the house. Appreciate you, George. Hope you're having a great day. And thank you to everybody. Make sure if it's not me that gives you the most bang for your buck, that you are thinking about contributing and helping financially the channel that does give you the most bang for your buck. And if it is me, thank you so much for your support. I appreciate it. I will see you Tuesday. Get out of your seats. Get into the streets. Find your nearest protest. Find your nearest rally. Stay loud. Stay proud. Stay aggressive. Make sure you're doing the right thing. Stay principled, right? But keep your head in a swivel out there. Make sure you're staying safe. Until Tuesday, continue to kick ass. I'm Boston Brian, and we will win this fight. I promise. Let's fucking go. But this is... Thank you to the mods. I always do this. Thank you so much to the mods, by the way. Before I dip out of here, I just want to make sure I am paying the respects that the mods deserve. Adding so many shows and so many different times and making you guys jump through so many different hoops to keep that chat a safe place. I really want to make sure that you guys get the appreciation you deserve. So all of you fine people, every single one of you, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for your efforts. We really, really do appreciate you from both Mel and I. Thank you guys from the bottom of our hearts. So I appreciate it. And I'll see you Tuesday. All right. I'll see. Hold on. Jenny Faye sneaking one in before the bell. Love seeing everyone on Zooms join us. Thank you, Jenny Faye. Thank you. And you can sign up at patreon.com for as little as $5 for the month. That signs you up for either one of the Patreon Zooms. And this month, let me see, I might as well put that on while I'm back as well. We got our Patreon Zooms this month happening on the 11th, September 11th. I thought that would be poignant. And then September 25th is the VIP Zoom. So anybody on that bottom ticker, you can see right here, right there you go, right there. You can see that going by. You can sign up there for as little as $5 a month. If that is too steep, too much for you, then there is a membership for the YouTube channel. That is $2.99 for the month, less than a gallon of gas. Goes a long way in helping. That is the backbone of not only my channel, but a lot of the channels here is the Patreon community, the membership community, and those that contribute to help through super chats and stuff. So thank you guys. I'll see you Tuesday. I really appreciate you all. Keep kicking ass. All right, let's fucking go.
lobsters, right? There weren't trees around when lobsters first manifested themselves on the planet.
Brian, yeah, you're drunk. You're drunk.
He's the town drunk.
This guy's been drunk all day.
I'm standing up here bashing the living shit out of Nazis.
Where you going? Nowhere.
Fucking Nazis.
Builds the wall the way he built Trump Towers, he'll be using illegal immigrant labor to do it.
Water coming here is dead. And Gavin Newsom is going to sign those papers. And if he doesn't sign those papers, we won't give him money to put out all his fires. And if we don't give him the money to put out his fires, he's got problems. He's a lousy governor.
Go fuck yourself.
Never fight uphill, me boys. Never fight uphill. They were fighting uphill. He said, wow, that was a big mistake. He lost his great general. And they were fighting. Never fight uphill, me boys. But it was too late. When you ran out the healthy arms, you ran out of really healthy. They had great arms, but they ran out. It's called sports. It's called baseball in particular. And pitchers, I guess you could say, in really particular.
Tell the director to call the White House. Do your fucking job!
Taking him back to Nevada where he's wanted for banging horses. I said mud, I said crud. You fall into some crud or something?
All I smell is your bullshit.
Vagina.
Obama. Oh, get those lights off! Off! Turn them off. They're too bright. Turn them off.
Refer to my hands. If they're small, something else must be small.
Hey, you got a little chubby going there.
Eating the dogs, the people that came in, they're eating the cats, they're eating the pets of the people that live there.
Go fuck yourself.
I'm just an average guy who read public documents where the elite said they were going to enslave us and destroy America. And I'm not going to be like yuppie scum and deny the threat to my country. I'm going to fight back.
I ain't falling for no banana in my tailpipe.
It feels so lovely to be here tonight. What a beautiful, give yourselves a round of applause. You're so lovely. Everyone's so lovely.
The big, fat, sloppy United States.